You're listening to 5 Sports Extra, the US Open.
Hello, good evening. It's Sunday night, and here on 5 Live Sports Extra we have some more major golf for you. It's the Women's US Open, the final round, and the leaders are out on the course. They've reached the 6th hole, and it's an Australian who leads the way. Minji Lee from Perth looks like to be closing in on her maiden major championship. Our golf correspondent Ian Carter can bring us right up to date with the runners and riders.
The 26-year-old Minji Lee is leading at 14 under par. She's 4 shots clear of the American Mina Harigai. And Minji Lee off to the perfect start. 1 under par through the first 6 holes. Very composed front-running golf so far. And that advantage of 4 shots looks pretty convincing at the moment. Hai-Jin Choi of Korea at 8 under par is in 3rd place. She's gone to the turn in 2 under par. Lydia Ko with an outside chance. She's playing the 8th, 1 under for her round so far. And the former world number 1 at 7 under par, within 7 shots of the lead. So Minji Lee might have to somehow capitulate to let Lydia Ko in. But Ko is looking quite reasonable at the moment. The news not so good for Bronte Law, I'm afraid. She's dropped 3 shots in her first 7 holes, got off to an unsteady start with a bogey at the par 5 first, and at 4 under par is back down in a share of 8th place, and that is 10 shots off the lead now.
Ian Carter there, the BBC's golf correspondent, providing commentary and coverage over the next few hours as we see who will pick up the 2nd Women's Major Championship title of the year. Trish Johnson, European Tour legend, alongside us here for this one in the commentary box. Trish, you're laughing. you come on, you are a legend.
That just means you're old, doesn't it?
It's a very polite way of saying so, but yes. And we've been enjoying this golf, haven't we? This course. Tell us a little bit more about Pine Needles in North Carolina. It looks absolutely glorious out there, and it's a course that you know well. Yeah,
I was lucky enough to play the 2019 Senior Women's Open there. It's an absolute stunner, I've got to be honest. Loved every minute of it. I would have just, if that was your home course, you can't believe how lucky you'd be. It's a pretty generous driving golf course, I would say. What makes it so difficult are the saucered greens, the runoffs from the greens, and what we're seeing here. Just if you do miss a fairway, you don't tend to have the most straightforward of shots, as you can see with Minji here. But it's just it's a feel-good golf course, it really is, and it'll be in top nick. And they've got perfect weather as well, which always makes for a nice major championship. But this is a tricky little shot that Minji's got here, and she's just got this, well, I would call that a rush, a bull rush, because that's what I used to play with at the Royal North Devon. She has a bull rush between her and the ball, and this could go anywhere, Kat.
Yeah, I'd say it's a clump of marram grass, kind of dune grass, and Minji Lee playing from the sand, because it is quite duney, isn't it, Trish, down that right-hand side. There's a lot of sandy wastelands, clumps of that beachy dune grass in those wastelands, and Minji Lee's come out of there, fires it across the face of the green to the left-hand side, just rolls back onto that first cut of rough. That was not bad from where she was. As you say, that could have gone anywhere given that thick beach grass that was between her and the ball.
That was a very brave shot. Before she hit it, it's either brave or stupid. It's turned out to be very brave. Anything could have happened to that. But you're absolutely right. There are lots of dunes, lots of runoffs on this golf course. You look like you're going to hit towards the greens, and the greens are fairly flat, and then you suddenly realise the ball just doesn't stop. There's lots of shots that certainly downhill shots, downhill lies to greens that run back to front, which always makes it really difficult to get the ball to stop near the hole. And I think the main thing here is distance control with your iron shots, because it's not just about hitting greens. That does not make this golf course play that easy. The greens are enormous, some of them. You can have 40, 50-yard putts from front to back, and you really do have to have total control of your iron shots pin high sort of stuff.
And they're what they call sort of turtle back greens, aren't they? So anything that catches the contours will repel the ball and take them off the putting surface. And often we've seen players putting from off the greens or using rescue clubs, pitch and runs, floating it. There's a great variety of shots that it prompts, and it's a different challenge, isn't it? To what you played there in 2019, so it had changed then. It was 2017 when the big change came in.
Yeah.
So it's different, the challenge, compared with the previous US Opens that have been staged here, in that those areas used to be conventional rough, but now they put this wiregrass in the sandy waste, just like they have at Pinehurst just down the road. So if you remember back to Martin Keimer winning the US Open there, it's a similar kind of setup, but you're just looking at it, it reminds me of sort of the Berkshire, Sunningdale kind of, almost a bit Royal Melbourne-y as well.
Perfect.
I mean, you're
absolutely perfect, and you're
melding together some of the greatest golf courses in the world.
Yeah, it really is quite special. I mean, if you listen to the players this week, you know how much, and previous, you know, there's been previous Women's Opens here, and the players absolutely love it. And that shows how good it is, but they're really difficult. If you miss the greens, it's really difficult to get up and down. There are so many different levels on these greens, and the players can be made to look pretty foolish, having a little chip shot and having it 10-15, leaving it 10-15 foot short, and little side. You know, there's a lot of undulation that you can't see as well. So yeah, it's. You know what? It's the kind of golf course that when you get on it for the first time, you think, oh, this is pretty straightforward. I like this, yeah. And then the more you play it, the more you realise, actually, it's not quite that easy. It's not. And by the time you've got to your fourth round, you really realise it's quite a tricky golf course, this one.
Well, we've just seen Mina Harigai exemplifying exactly what you're just saying there, Trish, with a chip at the 7th, her third shot on the par 4, and the ball coming up 15-20 feet shy. So Harigai may well drop a shot at that 7th. She's currently at 10 under par, the closest rival to Minji Lee at the top of the leaderboard. Lee, who was playing her second shot from that wiregrass, as Kat was describing, currently at 14 under par.
It looks absolutely baking hot out there, doesn't it? It's kind of bleached. The grass is bleached. I don't know whether that is kind of heightened that sense of kind of burnout, because the sand around the greens is so white.
It's crusty, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks so sticky and hot out there. And Minji Lee is wearing a short black skirt with a big white belt buckle on her belt, and a bright lime green collared shirt, long sleeves on her underlayer, and a white hat. And having come out of the sand and the marram grass down the left-hand side to the right-hand side, to the left-hand side of the green, she now has a long and undulating birdie putt across this par 4 7th, but that one comes up short, and it's another player made to look a little bit foolish by these tricky greens, Trish.
Yeah, I mean, she's left that all of what I'd say 10-12 foot short. Unusually, I mean, Minji, the one thing that she is doing so well at the moment, and has been doing for quite a few months, she's a great ball striker. Everybody knows that. It's the putter. Can the putter stay hot? And to me, I'm watching her at the moment, and I'm thinking, there is a person, and you know that horrible phrase that everybody uses, in the zone, which to you and me, to the normal person, means so full of confidence, you just think you can walk on water. That is Minji Lee at the moment. So
relentlessly consistent. This is her 39th major, and she's made 34 cuts in those 39.
Bronte Law, the English woman from Stockport, floating one in on the 8th over the pin, and that one stops dead for Bronte Law. Deep bunkers in front of that green.
Trying to bounce back from a double bogey 6 at the 7th Law. Here's Jin Young Ko, and she's putting at 6 under par and just missing the world number 1 just to the left of that hole as we go back to the final group on the 7th.
Mina Harigai with 12 foot or so up the hill to save her par on the 7th. This one looks like it's drifting by to the left-hand side, and by a couple of feet as well. She's got dark glasses on, and she admonishes herself after that. Some serious words spat out from underneath the white baseball cap.
I think you might find she's admonishing her caddy. There seemed to be a look there, and it certainly wasn't my fault, so it must be yours.
Lexi Thompson back at 1 over par, just past the 13th as we turn our attention back to the leader, Minji Lee, who's got this tester to save her par and remain at 14 under. And she's looking for her second major title, won the Evian Championship last year. Former amateur world #1, 26 years of age, from Perth in Australia, has 10 professional wins to her name, currently ranked #4 in the world. As I say, it's just been relentlessly consistent. Won on the LPGA Tour just 3 weeks ago in the Founders Cup, and now she's ready with this par save to remain at 14 under. Settles over this very compact putting style, sends the ball on its way towards the hole, and it turns just at the last, but not enough, and catches the right lip and doesn't disappear. So it'll be a dropped shot. She shaped to tap that in, and then thought, hang on a minute, this is the US Open, this is a $10 million, and this is a good talking point as well, $10 million, so record prize fund for these players. And she'll just mark the ball, and now she's ready, knocks it into the middle of the cup. So bogey 5 for Minji Lee, and the Australian back to 13 under par. That's 2 drop shots in the last 3 holes after a brilliant start with birdies at the first 2.
And the lead is cut then to 3 shots over Mina Harigai, who she's playing alongside in this final grouping. The American born in Monterey, California, the world number 52. Her 13th appearance at the US Open. And she's never done better than a tie for 28th place in 2012. But here she is in second place and in for an enormous chunk of that $10 million prize pot. If she can hang on this, though, for bogey on the 7th. And she's got a couple of feet. Oh, she's going to step back from that one, because this one does look a bit tricky, Trish, coming back down the hill.
Yeah, I think this is all of more probably about 3.5 feet, Kat. That's why she's suddenly taking a bit of an interest in it. And she's, yeah, I mean, this would be disaster to drop 2 shots.
In it goes, though, into the centre of the hole, putting from out of the shadow cast by her left leg. And Mina Harigai does drop just the 1 shot. And the lead of Minji Lee from Australia is back to 4.
When you're marking the other player's cards, Trish, I don't know whether she's, looking at leaderboards, but she knows, obviously, what Harigai is doing. And so that will come as a big comfort, won't it? That although you've dropped a shot, your closest rival has as well, and the advantage remains at 4 shots.
Yeah, I think from Minji's point of view, though, she's so calm and collected these days. I mean, to be fair, she's the best player in the world right now, and she has been for probably the last 4 or 5 weeks. So she's just looking at her game. She'll probably have a number in mind that she's going out there to try and shoot, and really won't worry. I mean, if someone gets within a couple of shots, yeah, maybe she'll get concerned, but she'll just be looking at a number that she's trying to get to.
Just watching Ingrid Lindblad, the Swedish amateur who's been causing some ripples out there in the States. The winner of the 2021 European Ladies Amateur Championship and runner-up as well at the 2022 Augusta National Women's Amateur, behind Anna Davis, who you may remember wearing that cool funky bucket hat thing, and the Swede with the long blonde plait over her shoulder ended up second. She's an interesting character, isn't she? And she's certainly a good prospect, an exciting prospect for European women's golf, Trish.
Absolutely, and she's playing in the Scandic next week, the mixed event. Yeah, and it's at a home golf course in Halmstad, which is and it's interesting because on her bag she has Sophie Gustafsson, who's caddying for her, and I don't know if people remember, but Sophie had a very she had a fabulous career, and she played. My last Solheim Cup was at Halmstad in 2007, and Sophie's played there as well. So it's interesting to have a player of that calibre, a major winner as Sophie was, on your bag. It doesn't get a lot better than that, to be honest. When you're coming down the stretch and you've got a player that's won as many tournaments as she has caddying for you, that's pretty tasty.
Minji Lee on the tee on the par 4 8th. What an enormous swing of the club, the massive club head coming right through the ball. And she's caught that one once again. She hits it a long way with the driver, doesn't she, Trish?
Yeah, she does. You saw there that carry is 238 yards. These fairways actually are pretty soft. When we played there, they were a lot more runny than that. And she's not getting a massive amount of run, but she hits it. Yeah, she hits it great. She really does. Strikes it just beautifully and gets everything she needs out of it.
Bronte Law so close to a birdie at the 8th. The ball shaving the right edge of the hole. Needed to borrow an inch further to the left. That ball turning from left to right, but just finishing on the high side.
Jin Young Ko, the world #1, has dropped to 5 under par. Standing in the centre of the fairway on the 10th. This fairway lined with tall pine trees either side of the fairway. Russet-coloured pine straw underneath, and that one just coming up short of the green for the world #1, who was so dominant, wasn't she, over the end part of last year and into the start of this, just coming off the boil.
Lydia Ko looking for a birdie at the 8th and just missing on the low side as that one turned from right to left. Frustration for the New Zealander.
Would you say, Trish, that Minji Lee has taken over as the most consistent golfer in the world from Jin Young Ko, who had those 5 wins in 8 starts as the kind of calendar year switched over? And she had that disappointing tie for 53rd at the Chevron, having come out and said, "Oh, I'm going to win this by 7 shots," and then came nowhere close. But it's Minji Lee who's risen up and reached that purple patch of consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Minji's in just mint form at the moment, and like I say, so incredibly confident. I've no doubt she'll go out there today fully expecting to win. Every part of her game is just on fire at the moment. She's driving it well. She's a great iron player, and it's the putter that's always been the club, in all honesty. Maybe not quite as good as the top players, but at the moment she's absolutely cruising with the putter and just so full of confidence. And yeah, it's interesting to see actually, because Jin Young Ko, it was only in February, beginning of March, where we were saying, well, this girl's unbeatable.
Yeah,
absolutely can't lose. I watched her, I commentated in her winning the HSBC in Singapore, and she was just every time she needed to do something happened for her. It's just not happening at the moment.
And when we were at the Chevron, she just exuded so much confidence, didn't she, beforehand?
I was just saying to Trish, that the fact that during our interview at the start of that championship, she said, "Oh, yes, winning by 7 would be a good result for me. That's what I'm aiming for." She was quite happy to put that out there.
Really? Yeah. She actually said that?
Yeah. She said it in our interview before the championship started.
That's extraordinary.
7 was her target.
Wow.
See, golf has a funny way, doesn't it? If somebody says something like that, the golfing gods hear it. Well, they listen to 5 Live, obviously, and then. I mean, you're absolutely gobsmacked there, Trish.
I mean, I've never heard a golfer. Golfers just don't say that. Winning by, I mean, everybody knows that you have those patches, but it doesn't last. It never lasts forever. So to say you're going to win by 7 before the start of the week.
Who knows? Maybe that's her strategy. Maybe that's what she says to herself before each tournament. I'm going to win by, and maybe it had happened. Maybe her predictions had come true over previous months, but it wasn't to be in the California deserts earlier on this year. A tie for 53rd in the end for the world #1, but she is still playing consistently enough that she's held on to that #1 spot.
Personally, I think you two have jinxed her then. That's it. As soon as you ask, that's it. She's gone.
Well, it's not our fault, is it? She said it.
We were hoping it would happen because we thought that would be quite the scoop, wouldn't it?
Mina Harigai in second place here from 95 yards out, playing her second shot into the 8th, just probably 15-20 yards behind her playing partner, the leader Minji Lee. Both players playing from the middle of the fairway, and that was the sound of what I think was a slightly disappointing wedge for Harigai, given her body language, and the ball finishing, I don't know, 20-25 feet to the left of the flag. She'd have expected to get that closer from that position.
Yeah, although she's been high, yeah, she won it closer to the flag, but she's left it, as I say, having control of your distance control is the most important thing on this golf course. So a decent birdie chance with not too much break on it.
And Minji Lee, the leader, then looking to set up her own birdie chance. 255 yards. She's made it down the fairway from the tee with the driver. She's got shades on her face, mirrored lenses that are slightly aquamarine in colour, and it's reflecting that vivid green of the putting surface up ahead as she stares after this one. Up into the blue sky it goes. That's reflected in those shades as well. Over the top of the pin, the spin bringing it back down towards the hole, and that one is getting better and better and better. Stops 4 feet from the cup. Birdie coming up here, Trish. That was beautiful.
Do you know what? When you look at Minji Lee, you just, I know we're older people here, and you look at her. That is a very cool look, isn't it? She is a cool-looking golfer. If you're a young kid watching that, you just think, I want to be that player right there.
I can wear my mirrored shades. I think she's got a top that says win at all costs across the back of it. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I will be checking it out over the next couple of hours. And she's got red lipstick, which is a bit rock and roll, isn't it? A bit like Patty Tavatanakit when we watched her at the ANA.
Yeah, do you know what? When you watch women's golf at the moment, it's a very cool sport to watch, because the players they really are rocking and rolling. They really are. It's great to watch. They all hit it miles. They're so talented. They look great.
Yeah.
What's not to love?
The clothes are good. I remember watching women's golf, and it was all very frumpy, very baggy T-shirts, knee-length shorts.
All right.
In the old days.
Now
these guys are, they look like real athletes, don't they?
What's your point? What are you saying?
Well, they look like they're playing sport rather than out for a knock round.
You saying back in the day people didn't look like that? Is that what you're getting at?
That is what I'm getting at. It didn't make me want to go out
harsh but fair,
and play golf if I had to kind of dress like some middle-aged frump.
This is a conversation I'm not getting involved in. I'm watching Ingrid Lindblad, the Swedish amateur, putting from miles away on the 9th green. And this one creeping ever so slowly into the environs of the hole. Probably come up around about 6 feet shy for Ingrid Lindblad.
Now, Ian, there was a stat last night that I saw about Lindblad.
Yeah, I saw it as well.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Hadn't missed a single putt inside. This was the middle of the third round. Hadn't missed anything inside 10 feet.
It was by the end of the third round it was still alive, holding every... And if you watch her, the way that she holes out is extraordinary. I mean, just with such authority, everything is rammed into the middle of the cup. Be interesting, because that's a tester coming for her right now. She's currently at 4 under par. And we wait to see whether that putt goes in to save her par, but it's been an incredible display.
Yeah, and just to give you a quick idea, on the PGA Tour from 6 feet, the average is 45%, and she was 100% from inside 10 feet. That's ludicrous.
Mina Harigai with her birdie putt just under 19 feet, and she's got that one entirely wrong as well. And she's going to shout at the caddy again this time. Just a curl of the top lip in disdain for the American in the red T-shirt.
Here's Lindblad then with this 6-footer to save par. Sends it forward, not with much authority, and well, talk about putting curses on people. That one misses to the left, and she slips back to 4 under par.
Totally put the kibosh on her there, didn't we? Oh,
that was very tentative, wasn't it? But we saw how slowly that initial putt was. I mean, it was such a tricky downhill putt. But when you've holed everything, and you go again, you're the only one in this room who can talk about going on successful putting runs. When suddenly you've hit the buffers and suddenly the putts that have been dropping don't. How do you deal with that?
It's one of the hardest things. When you're on a roll and you're just holding everything, you never think you're going to miss. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one misses. And then you suddenly think, well, what happened there? Yeah, it's a toughie. It's a real toughie.
Well, Minji Lee has a putt of the length that Ingrid Lindblad has not been missing until that last putt, of course. But this one for birdie for the leader to take her to 14 under par and extend her lead at the top. And as you can hear from the groans from the galleries, that one glides by on the left-hand side of the hole. And she's taking this one very seriously as well, Trish. Another, 18 inches or so back up to save her par for the leader.
Yeah, disappointing there. I think she just got the wrong line. I think she liked the way she hit that putt, gave it quite gave it a good lot of authority, but just it broke. You see, very disappointed at that. Expected to hold that putt. Such a great second shot, left it in just a little bit quick down that hill. Probably not. You don't want to be behind that flag because it's the one you can't really have a go at, because if you do give it a bit of a rap and it misses, you're going to be 4 feet coming back. So as good a second shot as that was, which was behind the flag, it left her a very quick downhill putt.
Yeah, and she was looking to bounce back from that bogey on the 7th with a birdie at the 8th, but has to settle for a par, so she remains at 13 under par, 4 shots ahead of her playing partner in this final group, Mina Harigai.
Who's got a tester here and is taking every last bit of consideration over that putt. It was a poor birdie putt across the green from 20 feet that missed on the left, but actually, from where she is now, you can see that the ball has borrowed considerably since it went past the hole, and this 3.5 footer, maybe 4, it's just got a little bit in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, she hit a shocking putt, I'll be honest. She missed the hole by 6-8 inches on the left-hand side, which is poor from that distance. But this is a very important putt, and she's hit it very firmly, right into the middle of the hole. Really good 2-putt.
Interestingly, she putts with a glove on her hand, as very few players have done, but it's a specific glove for putting that she hangs around her putter, so it's not the glove she uses for the rest of her shots.
Honestly, I learned so much with you two. It's just astounding what the things I learn.
Don't look at me, I had not noticed that. That's
where have you got that
very
from?
observant.
Where's that? Is that observant, or do you know that for a fact?
Well, I'll give you a reason why I know that, and it can be illustrated by the conversation that I had with my wife, who's been working on the Jubilee. And she said, "Did you watch the Jubilee stuff last night?" I said, "No, because I was watching the golf." And they were talking about it on the golf. So that's how I know.
Well, there you go.
So credit Sky Sports, to be fair, on that one.
And your wife can't be cross that you
Actually, no,
watching
NBC, because it was the
work.
NBC commentary team, so I retract the Sky Sports bit.
Because you were working. It's all part of the job, isn't it?
I was watching both. Now, that was impressive. I watched both.
2 screens.
Well, I have iPad, I had the golf on, and the main screen, I had the Jubilee on.
Oh, well, very nice. I was stuck in a airport in Paris, but that's a whole other story. Minji Lee, the leader, has made it to the 9th, taking a deep draught of cool water and getting the yardage book out. I was reading that Nelly Corder has got some pep talks for herself written down in the yardage book, things like "you've got this" and "keep your chin up" and stuff like that.
Does the accent come with the
Yes.
the word?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
So
that's
if
the
it's
authentic
Spanish, it would be.
accent.
Go on, give us a bit of
Well, I can't
French. Give us a bit of French.
I'd say "allez," "oui," and "forza" if I was Italian.
Okay.
Obviously. "Vamos" in
Well,
Spanish. There we go.
Minji Lee got a text from Kyrie Webb, who is one of only 2 other winners of this US Open, and obviously Kyrie Webb from Australia has been the mentor for Minji Lee, and the text basically said, "Go Aussie, go
Well,
Aussie."
that's all you need.
So there you go.
And Webby's won around this golf course as well. She won an Open round here, so she knows very well how to win. And I think she won it by. This was one she won by 8 shots, I think.
She did. She won
a
by
lot.
miles. Harigai tees off at the 9th, and this one is nicely down the fairway. She's been playing from 20-30 yards behind Minji Lee all the way, and if Lee goes on to convert this into her second major title, I think you'd say she's done it with her ball striking. Yesterday, 13 out of 14 fairways, 14 out of 18 greens in regulation, and also she is very solid in terms of converting 3rd round leads into titles. 4 out of 6 is a pretty good success rate.
Yeah, she is. And we've already mentioned it. You know, she's on fire at the moment, and she's so confident. You'd be amazed if she didn't finish this off.
Minji Lee then on the 9th on the tee, driver in hand, the fairway curling round from right to left, sand to fly down that left-hand side as well. And she does, Minji Lee. The ball skipping past that of her partner, Mina Harigai, but only by about 5 or 6 yards. And she's once again in A1 position there, Trish, down that right-hand side of the dogleg. Yeah, left-hand side, I should say.
Yeah, these two aren't missing any fairways at all, so they're giving themselves very good opportunities. It's a really good standard. Obviously, it's a very nervy last round of a major tournament, and US Open, to most players, I would say, is the biggest that there is. The Brits might disagree, might say hopefully British Open might be, but and this is a lot of money this year. This prize fund, I think we need to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a life-changing sum of money. That the purse is 10 million. So what kind of slice of that goes to the winner?
I think it's 1.5 goes to the winner. Do you know what? This has gone up $5 million. That's what the USGA have put this up since last year. I mean, that's an astounding. They've basically doubled it, which is astounding. And fair play to the USGA for doing that. We keep talking about women's golf trying to get it on the same sort of, not the same level financially as men, because I don't think that's ever going to happen, but a level that these players, their golf deserves. I have to say, 10 million, that's getting there.
It's getting there. Well, they've committed, haven't they, to raising it to 11 million and then to 12 million by 2026. So it's going up. And Ian and I out in the California desert at Mission Hills for the final playing of the Chevron Championship, as it's now known there. The Chevron are putting in, as a new sponsor of that major, they're putting in millions of pounds there. So the prize money is going up.
Yeah, and I'm sure the British Open, the R&A will do the same, and Evian definitely will, because they won't want to be left behind. And this is it. It's the knock-on effect. As soon as someone does it, the other majors do the same. Then all of a sudden, you're playing for the most enormous amount of money. But only what they deserve. The calibre of golf on the women's tour right now is stupendous, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, sometimes I watch these women and I think people have absolutely no clue how incredibly good they are. Sometimes I think that, to a certain extent, they're better than the men. And what I mean by that, it's not all about how far you hit the ball. The men hit it miles. There's no two ways about that. But when you see how good these women are with their iron shots, sometimes I watch the guys and think, flipping heck, there's some really bad golf going on here in the last few groups. The women very rarely do that. They're in contention. They knock the stick out all the time, and they putt great. And people have no idea how good these girls are.
And I think, just going back on that prize money situation, I think there is a realization, especially amongst the USGA and the R&A as well, who've seriously bumped up the prize money for the Women's Open. There is that recognition that for the sport to seem relevant in modern society, then you have to be much closer to parity. I think that the Grand Slams in tennis have reaped a massive dividend with equal prize money, and in terms of the way that the sport is widely regarded. And I think that that's what they're driving towards, and it doesn't half help in terms of the USGA, United States Golf Association, is that their chief executive is Mike Wan, who was the commissioner in his previous job of the LPGA. So they have someone who has been a really firm champion of women's golf at the helm there, and it wasn't a surprise to me to see massive increases in the prize money for this Women's US Open. But it's got to gather a pace, because as we know, in the men's game, with all that's happening with Saudi Arabia and the Live Golf 25 million tournament in London next week, or Hertfordshire, they keep saying it's in London, it's in Hertfordshire. That is going to drive inflation on the men's scene from the PGA Tour and the men's majors, and the women have to be seen to keep pace.
Which is interesting, because we have a tournament the very next week at the Centurion, and it's the same, it's the Aramco Series.
Playing the same tournament.
Same tournament, and our first prize is 50 grand, and their first prize is 4 million.
Well, there you go. But
that's a whole different conversation to be had about that tour, to be fair.
But it also, when you then making arguments for golf being in the modern era and not stuck in the dark ages, when you get that kind of discrepancy, and I know it's for all sorts of different reasons, don't get me wrong, it makes it much harder for the sport to be able to argue that.
Well, Greg Norman did say, didn't he, to us on our podcast that they approached the LPGA. They tried to form a partnership with them, but the LPGA said no.
And the LET did as well, but so too have the PGA Tour and the European Tour in the men's, and they have ploughed on with the men, but they haven't done anything with the women. So I'm not letting them get away with that.
I think that's a fair point. Well, the final pairing, Minji Lee and Mina Harigai, have reached the 9th. Their drives on the 9th, so second shots coming up for both. Their balls just a few yards apart, right in the centre of this sun-bleached fairway. Black shadow. The contrast cast by Mina Harigai, and the ball fires out of that shadow and onto the front left-hand corner of this vast green, Trish. She would have wanted to be much closer than that. She's about 50 feet away.
Yeah, Cumsby's 32 on this, 8 from the left, and she is miles short. That's not one club out, that's at least 2 clubs short.
Well, the putter still not quite working for Ingrid Lindblad, the Swedish amateur. That one drifting by for the 22-year-old. Minji Lee now to take her second shot into the 9th, the par 4. She's playing out of the dappled shade of those tall pine trees down the left-hand side, casting their shadows across the fairway. And Minji Lee wearing this vivid lime green t-shirt and those aquamarine lenses on her shades. Swipe of the wedge, and she's got a curl of her lip after that one. That one looks a little bit short as well. It's not going to make it up onto that top tier of green, and she's cursing after that one, Trish.
Yeah, it's interesting. The players are, I mean, she's only got a small wedge in her hand. These players are obviously very, very fearful of going long past this flag, because if you do, you're down and out. You've got no real shot back. So they're making sure. But she's left herself plenty of yardage there. She's got the best part of 40, 45 feet. We can see the grain is really sort of changing colours a few times on that hole. So it's a bit tough two-putt.
Tough two-putt then coming up for the leader, Minji Lee. 13 under par. The Australian leads by 4 over her playing partner Mina Harigai in that final pairing. And then Jin Young Ko, the world #1 at 5 under par. She's currently in 5th position. She's reached the 11th, just playing into the big green there as well. These are huge greens, Trish. You did say at the beginning, but I've begun to note quite how vast they are.
Yeah, they really are enormous. You can probably have 4 clubs from front to back, I'd say, on a lot of them. Maybe the odd one, even 5 clubs. So 50 odd yards, assuming there's pretty much 10 yards between each club. And and some of the pin positions are really, really tricky today. Can't short side yourself, which means you can't miss it on the side that the flag's on, so you've got short distance between you and the flag.
To save par then for the Swedish amateur Ingrid Lindblad, and in it goes. She will stay at 4 under par. That's a 9 off the lead. Starts her back 9 with a par on the par 5, 10th after 2 bogeys on the 7th and the 9th on the front 9.
Would that ponytail annoy you? Just explain for people listening exactly where her hair is hanging.
Well, it's like a plait, isn't it? And it comes over her shoulder, but also across the kind of left-hand cheek as well. So it's kind of plaited tight to the side of her head.
Might be slightly annoying, especially on your backswing, if that just gets in your way a little bit. Pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, how do you mean? You've cut all your hair off, Trish. So I mean, was that just your approach to hair? Just get rid of it. It's not in your way. It's not going to flap around.
No, that's not fair. The fact is, I have the sort of hair that won't grow down. It just doesn't grow. So I haven't cut it all off. It just won't grow. I could just stay here for another couple of years and it might grow to your length, but literally it just doesn't. It grows outwards, it doesn't grow downwards, so it's really annoying.
I think it's very practical for golf. Very practical indeed. It's either that or a cap, isn't it? Or a bobble hat, or whatever does the job to keep it out of your face. But yes, Ingrid Lindblad, it does look like it might get in the way if you had a strong shoulder turn on you. This for the birdie for Mina Harigai at the 9th. It needs to borrow round a bit more from right to left. It's a long birdie putt for the American, and it just cozies in towards the hole, but a little bit short by 3 feet or so. Comes to a rest on a steep downslope there. Not a bad putt from where she was, 50 feet or so away from the pin.
S.Y. Kim at 1 under par from a bunker, 15th hole, and that one coming up just shy, so rather 16th hole. As we now turn our attention to the world number 1, Jin Young Ko, looking to save par at the 11th, currently at 5 under par. Very efficiently knocks that in from 3.5 feet. Little wave to the crowd as she walks off. 2 drop shots so far after a birdie at the first. Par golf otherwise for Jin Young Ko, who, as we were saying earlier, just hasn't quite rediscovered that dominant form that brought her 5 wins last year.
Megan Kang also playing out of a bunker. Didn't quite catch which hole she's playing on. Tied for 4th at the US Open last year.
13th cap.
That was the 13th then. Missed the cut, though, at the Chevron this year after finishing in the top 10 in 2021. She was 1 under par, so a good 12 off the lead of Minji Lee. Why don't you give us a bit of a rundown of that leaderboard then, Ian Moss? There's a bit of a pause in play. Well, hang on a second. We've got a putt coming up for the leader.
Yeah, 41 feet 7 inches to be precise. This for birdie at the 9th down the hill, and she's given it a little bit more than her playing partner Harigai did, and this one drifts beyond the hole and is running and running to the kind of distance that she has been missing. That's gone 7-8 feet by
Comfortably. I'd say she's got 10 foot coming back, and Harigai has got 10 foot short. So
between them,
they'd have a good effort if they'd read it between them. But it's really interesting. They just showed a graphic of this green, and it's why it's so difficult to get the ball close. You can only see it from the fairway. There is such a small area to hit. There's so many humps and bumps, and you could almost hit it maybe front left, and it's going to roll down into the bunker. You hit it front right, it's going to roll off on the right-hand side. So what the players are doing, they're playing to the safest part of the green, where they know when the ball lands, it's actually going to stay on the green. That might be why they're coming up so far short. They're just playing the sensible game.
Well, Lee hasn't lost her turn here, and as Trish was saying, 10-footer coming back. She just rehearses her swing standing directly behind the ball. This to save her par, remain at 13 under par. So an important putt here for the leader. Sends it forward and into the hole, and a little clenched fist there because that was important to make that coming back, and she has managed to do that, and she goes to the turn in 35. 2 birdies, 2 bogeys, level par, and at 13 under par she leads by 4. And in a match play sense, she has piled the pressure now on Harigai.
You could see that the relief was palpable there, wasn't it, when she stood up after that little fist pump. And that was a confident putt. That went straight into the heart of the hole. And maybe, that's the moment where she's put the positivity back into her game, Trish.
Yeah, and it's the pace it went in at. It was a confident putt. It was up the hill, so she knew she could give it a bit of a rap. But it was a definite, she enjoyed every second of that. And, after getting off to a birdie start, you really don't want to shoot over par going out. And it sends a bit of a message to the rest of the players. She's still in control. Sometimes
par saves can give you more momentum than actual birdies.
100%, absolutely, yeah.
Well, this is an important one now for Harigai.
Yeah, and she's closer to the hole than Minji Lee was. This one for her par on the par 4 9th. 5 feet, I'd say, hitting out of her shadow, the shadow of her right leg, and that one much more gentle coming down the slope and into the heart of the hole for Mina Harigai. So she has an answer to the question asked by Minji Lee. She goes to the turn in 36. And just getting a replay of the time it took for her to allow her eyes to follow that in down the line, kept that head perfectly still, Trish.
Yeah, she did. And this is where it all comes, this back nine, US Open. Harigai has not once this season been in the top 10 going into the last round of a tournament. And here she finds herself in a position, and I'm not even talking about the winner. This is where this tournament suddenly takes on a whole new ball game. If she finishes second, she wins over $1 million. And for someone like her, as Kat was saying earlier, that is life-changing beyond belief. That pressure is, I'd love to experience it, never going to now. However, it's something else. And can she handle it?
I mean, you're right. There's masses on this. This is her 47th major. She's never finished in the top 10 at a major championship. She's currently ranked 52 in the world, and it's the biggest 9 holes of her life coming up.
Without a shadow of a doubt, and if you're looking at someone like Lydia Ko, or if you're thinking of the world number one, Jin Young Ko. Jin Young Ko. It's still an enormous amount of money, but it's not going to change their lives in any shape or form. They've won that money. They've got plenty of those in the bank. But for someone like Mina, oh my word, this is, all you want to do is see her play as solid as a rock back nine. And, she will be, look, she's still trying to win the tournament. There's no two ways in her head, but she's also thinking, good grief, there's all the money on the line here.
Don't let second spot slip.
Well, she's on the 10th tee. She's hit 6 out of 7 fairways so far. This one swings round from right to left. She will be hitting straight over a lake, which won't be an issue for her. And as I say, a fairway that swings from right to left on this par 4, 469 yards. Beautifully composed stance, a little rehearsal of the swing, driver in hand, and now she launches into it. Seemed to take off on a bit of a high trajectory, and it's flown straight left, and it's gone down that left side, found the rough down the left-hand side, hasn't found the pine straw and the sandy waste with all the trees there, but it's beautifully tree-lined. But the trees are set back far enough that they're not really a factor on the hole, but they frame it beautifully.
Yeah, and it's massively uphill. The drive is massively uphill, and there are bunkers all the way up that left-hand side. If you can carry those, Harigai wouldn't be long enough to carry those. Minji Lee, not quite sure. They're right off the back tee here. It's 469 this hole. She might have the power to just go over the side of them and leave herself a fairly decent second shot into this par 5, but it is substantially uphill, so it plays a lot more than its yardage.
Well, she's level par for the day is Minji Lee. Her lead still 4 shots as she embarks on her back 9. Just 9 holes away from a second major title. The Australian languid swing of the driver, and the galleries like it. That one bounding down into the shade on the left-hand side of the fairway, but on the short grass, and that one has been perfectly judged by the Australian, Trish.
Yeah, she's driving the ball beautifully. I mean, every single shot we've seen pretty much has been from the middle of the fairway, and if she carries on doing that for the next 9 holes, there's no stopping her.
4 shots with 9 left to go. What do you reckon the chances are that we'll see Minji Lee lifting the trophy at the end of this tournament?
I wish I could have a bet.
You'd put your money on her.
No worries whatsoever.
So 4-shot lead for the Australian Minji Lee at the top of the standings on the final day of the Women's US Open at Pine Needles in North Carolina. Mina Harigai, the American from Monterey, California, behind her by 4 shots on 9 under par. Hye Jin Choi of South Korea, 8 under par. She sits in 3rd position with Lydia Ko from New Zealand, 1 shot behind her, 7 under par in 4th. So they're bunching up behind, but Minji Lee has a 4-shot lead in.
I'm busily trying to Google WAAC because that's what's on the belt of Minji Lee, and then on the back of her shirt, you're absolutely right, it says win at all costs. Did you discuss this while I was away at 5 Live?
We did, yes,
you?
briefly.
You were giving me that look as if to say we've done this bit.
Well,
but
Trish was just a bit worried that I'd basically said that she's gone all kind of cocky, wearing a win at all cost shirt, but I think that is what it says.
I'm thinking that it might be a Western Australia thing.
No, it definitely says win at.
No, absolutely. But I think it says win at all costs on a shirt. But I wonder if that is like the catchphrase for the Western Australia Athletic Club or something like that, to which she might be affiliated, because that badge, the emblem on there, is like maybe some kind of emblem for a Perth sports team or university team or something like that.
You could be right, because
I've
won
googled WAAC, and it's not that. So
it's obviously something slightly dodgy.
It's not dodgy, but I'm not sure it's necessarily the organisation that we should be chatting about on an evening golf programme.
Okay, well, the logo on her top is a kind of little red devil, is
exactly.
that?
So
Right,
I just wonder if that's like Western Australia Athletic Club or something like that. So if you think I'm being a bit ignorant and just Googling and stuff like that while you're chatting,
no, that's
what I'm doing. It's in the name of research.
Added value, that's what we want. And we have been talking about it a lot. It is a very prominent logo, and it's not one that it's not your average golf sponsor, is it, on there? There's all the usual, banks and everything else all over the cap, and financial institutions all over sleeves. But that's a different one, and as you say, it's prominent, isn't it, on the belt buckle as well, big white belt buckle with those letters on it. Lydia Ko for her birdie on the 10th. Will it drop for the New Zealander? It doesn't. That would have moved her to 8 under par, within 5 of the lead, but it's a tap-in par for Lydia Ko.
Yeah, you just feel it's a bit of a shame as far as the tournament's concerned, and I don't mean this with any disrespect to Harigai at all, but if Lydia Ko or the world number 1 were within 2 or 3 shots of the leader, you'd think, well, this could be really, really interesting. If Minji had some real name players up there to try and put some pressure on her, would this be, a cakewalk on the back nine? I'm not so sure it would. I think sometimes, well, it's up to, at the end of it, it's up to Harigai to make a bit of a charge, and prove that she's not just there to sort of try and finish in second place, but try and win the golf tournament.
Well, here is Harigai, 213 yards out after that drive into the rough down the left-hand side of the 10th. Big television tower behind the green helping her frame this shot, but she's just bunting the ball forward and allowing the ball to bounce up into position down the left-hand side into the shadows of the trees, and I don't think she'll be overly pleased with that, because it's run into the semi-rough down the left-hand side, just short of the scruffy looking bunkers that straddle that fairway, but she just didn't obviously feel comfortable in the lie to be able to go from the green from there.
No, she isn't powerful enough to get over those bunkers at that stage, but that's not a very clever layup, in all honesty. She got very lucky. She looked like it was just going to roll into the sand, but it didn't.
Well, this young woman is certainly powerful enough to make the green, and she has a fairway wood in her hand. Minji Lee, the leader, 209 yards to the green, and she is in the middle of the fairway, so she does have that lie that she can use to work the ball onto the putting surface. Up into the sky it goes, past the flag and off towards the left, and trickling down off the putting surface into the swale and off into the, oh my goodness me, she's come up into a clump of dried up beach grass, and that looked like a kind of upside down sea anemone gripping the ball. Trish, look at that. I mean, it might be that it's very dry, it's very brittle, it'll just brush away, turn to dust when it's met with the club face coming through, but it could also be quite twiggy, do you think?
I think that epitomises why this golf course is so difficult. So she's hit what she would consider pretty perfect shot, maybe just pulled it a tad, and it's pitched probably about 10 foot left of the flag. She'll be thinking, oh, just hang on a second, I've got a nice eagle putt. She's going to get up there, and all of a sudden she's got a shot where, and I think the only way she can play that is to play it like a bunker shot, because it's going to be very soft underneath. She's going to have to hit it hard. It's going to be really sandy, and that's why this golf course is so difficult.
Big cheers from the 11th as Janet Lin moves to 3 under par with a birdie there. She was on the fringes of contending heading into this final day.
Hyejin Choi from South Korea with her long birdie chance at the 12th. Was that the 13th?
13th.
13th. That one drifts by and she grits her teeth in frustration. Choi on 8 under par, 5 off the lead.
That's why Kim playing her second into the 16th at 1 under par and using the contours to feed a lovely approach down towards the flag, which is located in the back left-hand corner of that green. But you see the different colouring on the green there, which just again adds to the direction that the grass is growing, the grain and so on and so forth. Well, you're the only one of us who has played these greens, Trish. So, I mean, they're devilishly difficult, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I really enjoyed them. The grain wasn't too bad when we played them. For some reason, I managed to read them pretty well right up until the 71st hole when it all went a bit pear-shaped. But there's no doubt that if you're not a great grain reader, there can be all sorts of trouble because you side grain, down grain, and then you get the speed of these greens as well. If they're back to front, you know, the slopes, that's what makes putting on these greens so incredibly tricky. And they're really subtle. These breaks on these greens are really subtle. So you've really got to have your eye in. There's no two ways about that.
You were second, weren't you, in that senior?
Yeah, I was tied with Alfie.
Yeah, Helen Alfredson.
And I did the most stupid thing I've ever done in a pro tournament. She was one shot ahead of me, playing 17, and I had a 25-foot birdie putt, and I thought I'd hold it. It was in all the way. Missed it, went a couple of feet past, and Alfie hit her putt, which was a couple of feet past as well. And I went to go to hit my putt, and I suddenly thought, I might be standing on her line. And instead of saying, Alfie, you finish first, I was uncomfortable. I just desperately tried, and I missed it. And so all of a sudden, from one shot going down the last, I was 2, and that was sort of game, set, and match. It was the most ridiculous thing. I mean, you'd think I was a flipping rookie, wouldn't you?
Oh dear. I think when we get to the 17th, Kat, I think when we're describing, we might not have a summariser for that hole.
We'll get Trish to talk us through every moment of anguish on the 17th, and there's a moment of anguish as well for Mina Harigai on the 10th, because the American has been pitching out from the rough down the left-hand side just in front of a bunker, and that one caught the downslope, and there were some really fierce downslopes on these greens, and whizzed back down into the apron in front of the green. And we're just getting a close-up shot of Minji Lee's ball after she bounced left off the green, Ian, and into that kind of shriveled up, dried shrub.
I mean, the good news for her, I would suggest, Trish, is that the grasses that are around there look like they're dead. So perhaps that sort of wire grass isn't going to be as potent as if it was in sort of living grass, but it is an awkward one. The thing that's just striking me is that Harigai is just not able to apply any pressure when Lee is in any kind of spot of bother, which is making life much easier for the Australian.
Yeah, I mean, it really and truly at the moment it's almost a different class of golf. You're kind of watching. There's a power game that Minji plays that Mina is just not possible. She just can't do it. So we're just listening at the moment. They're just trying to figure out how to play this. Jason, her caddy, I think, wants her to play like a chip and run shot, and I think she wants to play. There's a lot of sand where her ball is, and I think she has to play this like a bunker shot. I think if you try and run this, you've got all sorts of trouble. You can catch it heavy, and you've also got a lot of bank in front of you. I think the only way to play this is to play it like a bunker shot and hit it hard, which is what I think. Well, I don't know, maybe not.
There's a big clump of overhanging grass where she was standing, and she very deliberately used her left foot there to just trample that down as she took her stance, and then she's moved away from her ball, and now she's come back to it. That clump there that she's just put her left foot on there, the grass that is growing as if it's coming out the back of her heel was originally going in the opposite direction. don't know if anyone noticed and whether that might be an issue, but she's bumped that forward, tried to play the runner and not the bunker shot that was prescribed by Trish Johnson, and that has run all the way across the green, and it is tantalising. Had a look at running off the other side, but eventually comes to rest all the way across the other side of the green, and that is a monster par putt to come.
Yeah, I think she chose the really difficult option to try to judge that, how it was going to come out, and try and bang it into the bank and get it to react the way she wanted to. I think it was a really tough call. I think this would have been much easier to play the open face shot and just play it like a bunker shot. You know exactly how it was going to come out. There's sand underneath it. Yeah, you can see there she's got no control over that shot whatsoever. Tries to bang it into the bank, misses her spot, and I think she's got the best part of about 50 feet coming back there.
Could be a drop shot then for the leader, Minji Lee, at the top of the Women's US Open leaderboard, as the leaders embark upon the back nine. Mina Harigai in her bright scarlet t-shirt just off to the front right edge of the green. White shorts, baggy shorts, I'd say. Tight Under Armour type thing. Under Armour is a brand, isn't it? Should probably say
it's
that.
a skin, isn't it?
A skin. That's what I'm getting.
Baggy shorts like the old days.
I got into trouble for calling it an undergarment, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Chevron.
Well, I said under. I started off with under and thought I'm not going to say
done.
garment. And that one comes up a little bit short for Harigai. Yes, slightly baggy shorts, but you know they're short shorts, and that's okay.
Looks like an Arsenal fan in that outfit, though, all that red and white.
I wouldn't be surprised. She's a good girl. Yeah, she's a good girl.
She's a woman of taste, is she, Trish?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're on our way back up. It's all going to be next season. Mark my words.
Lydia Ko at 7 under par, looking for a birdie at the 11th. Now, if this were to go in, it could just start to make things interesting on the back nine, but it's just hanging out to the left-hand side from the back of the green. And it'll be a regulation par 4 for Lydia Ko, currently in a share of third place with Haijin Choi at 7 under par, Harigai at 9 under, and Minji Lee at 13 under par, the leader.
But Haijin Choi has just dropped a shot on the 13th, so she moves back to 7 under par and into a share of third spot with Lydia Ko. And that is 6 shots off the lead. Mina Harigai 9 under par in second on her own, 4 shots behind the leader Minji Lee, who's lining up then, Ian, this enormous putt on the 10th, having had to play out of the sand on the left-hand side and got it slightly wrong.
Yeah, par 5 this 10th, so this for birdie for Lee across the green, heading towards the hole, which still has the flag in it, but the ball turning underneath the hole, but that should be good enough to keep her at 13 under par. So a little bit of bother down the left-hand side, but if Harigai was going to apply any pressure, she needed to birdie that 10th hole when her playing partner went into trouble there, and that's not going to happen.
That's why Kim missing her birdie putt on the 17th as well. That's the 17th, Trish. Is it triggering memories?
See this putt she's got there? That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. It wasn't very long, was it?
Tiddler.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that.
Lexi Thompson is just letting one drift by as well. The American on 4 over par. Lexi's had a bit of a tricky day, hasn't she? Because she was in amongst the contenders yesterday and at the start of the round today. So Lexi Thompson, just having a quick look at what's happened to the American over the past however many holes. 5 over for the day is the American.
I think she made a 7, didn't she, at the 10th?
Yeah.
I think that, you know, for a player of her length, that's probably a drive and a 5-iron for Lexi, and she's made 7, so.
Yeah, she made a 7 at the 10th and a 6 at the 14th. So that was a double bogey then for Lexi Thompson at the 14th. So that's upsetting for her.
Harigai then, this tester to save her par at the 10th, vital for her chances, and the American stands firm, knocks it into the hole, and Harigai does remain within 4 shots. And anything can happen. There's still a long way to go. 4 shots behind. Yes, Minji Lee has been pretty steady at the top of the leaderboard, but It only takes a bogey coupled with a birdie and suddenly a two-shot swing, and it will become very, very interesting and potentially uncomfortable for the leader. So Harigai has to keep that in mind. And I don't know, I mean, if you're in her position, we're talking about the potentially life-changing prospect of finishing just second and banking $1 million, but they're competitive people. You've got to be playing for the trophy, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. Make no mistake. I'm just pointing out the fact that, you know, for someone like her, finishing second is a life changer. That doesn't normally happen in any regular tour event. You know, it wouldn't be a life-changing event. But no, winning the US Open would be a life-changing event without a shadow of a doubt. So she will be aiming for that, I have no doubt.
Yeah, it would be a second major championship for Minjee Lee. Anna Nordqvist, though, has 3 of those in her trophy cabinet, but that one drifts by. 4 under par is the Swede, isn't she? Anna Nordqvist, the Swede, tall, blonde, round neck T-shirt today.
Very underrated, if that's possible, for a 3-time major winner. Whenever I watch Nordqvist, I think that's the way to play golf. She gets up there, gives it a lash. She's really quick, plays everything at speed, and just one of those players. She's another one I really like watching. There's something about her.
And a great servant to the European Solheim Cup team as well. Someone that they really built around off the back of her win at Carnoustie. At Inverness in Toledo last year.
Yeah, do you know what? It's quite interesting actually. In Saudi Arabia last year, she was on the putting green, and I've always found I've done a few interviews with her, and never been easy to get on with. Never really. So we were both putting because I was playing in the tournament, and I just went over for a chat. And I just sort of asked her a few questions about, how does it feel? Because obviously they won the Solheim Cup. I said it was amazing. How did it feel being the leader? Because it's quite clearly you were the leader. Well, extraordinary. She chatted for about half an hour. All the stuff she told me about, what she wanted to achieve, this, that and the other. Absolutely incredible. And at the end of it, she said, "Thanks very much for asking." And I said, "Oh, it's my pleasure." And I got a totally different perspective on her. I think she's quite shy. And I don't think she doesn't feel comfortable sort of saying things about herself or being one of the gang, if you like. She doesn't like that. But when you ask, I was bowled over. I really was. It was great.
That's great to hear, isn't it? It's just so unassuming ultimately. Now Harigai's found the fairway at the 11th. We can see Cap Minjee Lee, who tapped in for her par, so she remains at 13 under par on the tee.
On the tee with fairway bunkers down the right-hand side, the fairway curling round from left to right, tall pine trees on the horizon, blue sky up ahead, and Minjee Lee standing there in that bright lime-coloured T-shirt, swings that driver, doesn't even bother to look after the ball. She knows exactly where that one has gone. It's bouncing up the hill. The fairway bunkers, as I say, down that right-hand side, and that should be a mid to short iron onto the green for the leader.
Anna Nordqvist is the only golfer that I knowingly have disturbed with on-course commentary.
Oh, how did that go down?
Well, she gave me a look. It was at the Olympics in Rio, and I was chatting away as you do, because it's your job, and I must have just been, I thought I was miles away. I thought I was being, quiet and professional about it all. And suddenly because as you say, she likes to play quickly, and she just backed off and gave me a look, gave me one of those looks, a Paddington stare, you might say.
A hard stare.
I had to offer the hand of apology and slope off and get a bit further away.
Yeah, she's one of those. I love it. She gets put out first in Solheim Cups in general, and the reason I've done it's a great reason, because she is quick, and I love it. If you're out in that first group and you're commentating, it's just, this is bliss. None of the amount of times I've commentated saying, "Geez, they're 90 yards away. What are they doing? There's no wind. How many clubs can it be?" And you stand there for a minute and think, God, for goodness sake. Oh, no, not with Nordqvist. She gets there, she got a club out, whacks it. It's brilliant. I love what players that play golf at that speed, because that's how it should be. It's not rocket science.
My perception is that with the women's game, it's improved. I think across the board, actually, slow play seems to be less of a factor than in recent years, but Trish doesn't think that, clearly. She's just shaking her head.
Do you think
enough said.
Do you think she'll continue to be a big part of that Solheim Cup team, Trish? Because she's 34 now, isn't she, Anna Nordqvist? We were talking about Ingrid Lindblad coming through, the amateur, another exciting Swedish prospect, but she's got this consistency, hasn't she, Nordqvist? That she's won these 3 majors, but she's won them in 3 different decades, and that's quite a remarkable feat, to keep that longevity, that quality in your game, and to then be, as Ian was saying, the player around which a Solheim Cup team is built, a winning Solheim Cup team is built at 34.
Well, I know for a fact she wants to play the next one, without a shadow of a doubt. She's desperate to play that. After that, I think it, very much depends. I think, she's getting to that age. I think she wants to have a family. So I think it's a difficult one to judge, but there's no question she wants to be in the next one. I think she loves the fact that, she's seen as the senior player. She thrives on that. Some players don't like that. She thrives on it. She nearly always plays her best golf at Solheim Cups, and that's the extraordinary thing. It's a pressure that you can't really explain unless you've been there. It's not always the nicest pressure, and if you haven't got your game at a Solheim Cup, it's no fun at all. But Anna always seems to have her game, regardless of whether she goes into it playing particularly well. And the younger players, there's no question they do look up to her. I mean, she's a tall girl. You would look up to her, to be fair. But she performs every single time. And when you're in a team like that, and you've got someone like that leading you, it's a great feeling to have for those younger, players coming through. And there's going to be a lot of these, like young Swedes as well. There's so many good young Swedes at the moment, and to have a player like that to look up to, it's going to be hard for her to sort of give that up, I think.
Well, Harigai's just played her second shot from only 144 yards out, middle of the fairway at the 11th, and she's come up short of the tabletop green there. That was an unforced error from the American, and the expression on her face after that shot, a look of real self-reproach, tells you what she thought of it. Maybe got it a little heavy, I'm not sure. It turned from right to left. But it opens the door for Minji Lee, who's got 138 yards here into this par 4. And this one is flying off to the left as well. And she misses the green, goes down into the little valley that runs to the left of the green, sits at the bottom of that valley. Should be a relatively routine chip from there. It's probably the right place to miss, but neither player from the ideal position will be pleased with their second shots into the 11th.
No, we could see, obviously you can't, but we could see that her arms just overtook her body there, didn't keep her body moving, and just wrapped the club face over. And the moment she made contact, you could see the ball's going straight left. And very poor shot from that distance. Only got a little wedged 9-iron in her hand.
There was I don't know if you saw it, there was a very interesting close-up replay of Minji Lee at impact when she's going through, and it was concentrating on her left heel, which is in the air.
Was that with a driver or with everything?
It was with a driver that the replay was.
Yeah, I think you'll find with a driver, that sometimes that's how players try and get a little bit more power, because you're told to basically, you want to get the power from the legs up. So, you're really extending through the ball. And if you extend through the ball, the one thing that's going to happen is you will tend for the feet to actually lift. But that's just a power thing. And obviously the ball's on a tee. You need to extend up. You won't see her do that with her iron shots, because obviously you're hitting down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting one, but that was just a very poor swing.
Lydia Ko for birdie on the 12th. This one's curling around, but she straightens her knees in frustration. That one drifting down the left-hand side of the hole. And that would have moved her up into a tie for second at 8 under par.
Lexi Thompson at the 17th, looking for a birdie from long range. Maroon down there at 4 over par, this very popular American. And she's got a face like thunder as she walks up there to tap in for a par 4.
So Minji Lee and Mina Harigai, the leading pairing have reached the 11th, neither of them covering themselves with glory, though, with their approach shots into this green, this elevated green that's entirely surrounded by these tall pine trees, shade dappling this front apron of the green. Harigai is just hitting from the dapple and out into the sunlight on the smooth putting surface. Little chip up onto the short grass, and that one is gliding by the left-hand side, right-hand side of the pin, 15 feet or so past. That one could have been a bit closer as well, Trish.
Yeah, they've both left themselves really difficult shots. The pin's only 4 from the left-hand side. And Minji has now been left with just a horrible little chip shot. Kind of deservedly so. I mean, you know the pin's 4 from the left. You don't miss it left. So she's left herself. It'd be really interesting to see how she plays this next shot. Whether she's going to just putt it all the way up.
Yes, she is. She's got the putter out. And she's going to use the contours. It'll be sharply uphill, and then it looks like there'll be a borrow from the knuckle that she's putting up that will then swing the ball from right to left towards the flag. Sends it on its way, and it takes that right to left turn, but she didn't really allow for it, so the ball finishes to the left of the hole, maybe 5 feet away.
Yeah, I think probably a little bit more than that. Yeah, well, you might be right, Ian. When the first look, it looked a little bit. Well, we'll give it 6. 45%. 45% from 6 feet. That's not.
Unless you're Lindblad.
Nelly Korda for a birdie on the par 3 16th. The world number 2 now, having slipped from the number 1 position, missing out on months of golf after surgery on a blood clot in her arm in March. She's still wearing a white sleeve on that left arm and a bandage visible around the elbow beneath it. But good to see Nelly Korda back. She's been talking about how much she's been loving being out there competing and signing autographs, and she's had the biggest galleries following her this week. Very popular figure among the American crowds, Trish.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a class golfer. I mean, one of those great golf swing, Nelly Korda, and yeah, really sad to see that she's been suffering health-wise. Actually, both the sisters in the last few years have really had their health issues. Unusual for 2 top athletes, but be great to see her back because she's got the game. There's no question she's got the game to actually take the women's game to another level. She's extraordinary, and if she stays fit and if she has the inclination, to really want to put herself out there. She's a very private, sort of shy person.
She's been remarkably outspoken this week. I was reading lots of interviews with her about loving being back and loving being a star attraction, loving the galleries, which I thought was unusual for her.
I would 100% say that, but I wonder if being away from it really makes her appreciate who she is.
Harigai to save par and misses just to the left of the hole at 11 and taps in for a bogey, fails to get up and down. The lead is now 5 shots for Minji Lee, who's got a tester to save par, but if she makes it, she'll remain at 13 under and 5 shots clear.
And she's standing over it now, just having another look at that line inscrutable behind those shades. They're a kind of beige colour frame, and then these turquoise mirrored lenses, so you get a second look at everything that Minji Lee is looking at, because it's all reflected in those glasses beneath the white baseball cap. And the pressure, well, it just seems to be sliding away with Mina Harigai dropping a shot there on the 11th. 5 shots now behind Minji Lee, and she must feel like the women's US Open title is becoming closer and closer with every step she takes around Pine Needles. Sends this one on its way 10 feet into the hole, and it's another great confident putt from that length. She likes those ones, Trish.
Yeah, that's an absolute perfect putt. Gave that a bit of pace as well. It's just a huge sign of confidence. I always think it's a bit of a shame, actually, with the glasses, that you can't see someone's eyes. I want to see the emotion, and that's where you see these players' eyes. You know, they tell you everything. And she's got a great pair of glasses, but I can't see her eyes.
I think that's a great point, Trish. Here's Bronte Law with her tee shot to the par 3 13th, and it's a fine one. She's put it to within 10, 11, maybe 12 feet difficult to tell from that camera angle, but it was an excellent tee shot that was covering the flag all the way in. So a chance for Bronte Law to make birdie at the 13th, and that would take her to 5 under par. She's currently in a logjam in a share of 5th place with Jin Young Ko and Anna Nordquist. So to leap up beyond them would be worth a lot of money.
Sorry, we just saw a shot of the 17th, and Trish, I'm afraid, has been triggered again.
Well.
she's just hit it exactly to where my first putt was. I know where that breaks. I bet she gets it wrong. Don't leave it 2 foot behind the flag.
You just want Trish on your bag for the 17th at Pine Needles. Jin Young Ko with a gently undulating putt coming down the slope for the world number 1, who I've lost on the leaderboard, I'm afraid. I will find her.
She's at 4 under par, as Minjee Lee with her tee shot at the 12th, par 4, sends it again straight down the middle of the fairway. And I mean, we always say bends down, picks up the tee, knows that it's a good shot, but she does that so instantaneously. It's almost as though she doesn't even have to think about it when she's got the driver in her hand.
You know, I think sometimes when a player is so confident, it just is in the slot on your backswing. And as soon as it's in the slot on the backswing, it can't go wrong. And you just get more and more confident. And it's almost as though as soon as you get to there, yeah, whatever. It's just, and she's in that slot at the moment. She's just piping it straight down the middle of every fairway.
Mina Harigai then on the 12th, the par 4. And this one, a tight shot from the tee box, but the fairway opens out invitingly in the sunshine in front of her. And that one bounding down the centre of the fairway as well. Nowhere near as long as Minjee Lee, once again for the American. But the final group are marching off down the 12th. And I know you said that you like to see a player's eyes, Trish, but what I've noticed about Minjee Lee is she chews the inside of her cheek when she's under pressure. So when she's not happy with the shot, I'm trying to do it on the radio, which doesn't really work, does it? But she's kind of chewing the inside of her cheek. So you might not see her eyes, but just watch what her jaw is doing.
Okay, what does she do when she's happy?
Well, I don't know. I guess she smiles.
She's been pretty inscrutable, hasn't she?
She has been
really
inscrutable.
I mean, I agree with you, Trish, that when you can't see the player's eyes, it does take something away. David Duval always got criticised for that, didn't he, at the height of his career, and subsequently seen him as one of the most erudite commentators out there and interesting guys. And when he won the Open in 2001, he suddenly gave this speech that was so gracious that stunned people, because
I remember it well.
Yeah, they'd never seen any proper emotion from him, and he was at the time the best player in the world. And everybody wears caps and visors now. When you think back to the old days, Laura Davis, Alison Nicholas, the headgear wasn't there. You saw everybody's eyes. You saw all the emotions. We've got a podcast coming up about Nick Faldo and Sandy Lyle and the British winners of the Open back down the years. Faldo bursting into tears when he won the Open. You could see every inch of that guy's emotion. Likewise, Greg Norman, Jack Nicklaus, Seve Ballesteros, none of them ever wore headgear at the top. And I'm convinced that's why they became sports stars that transcended, because that personality was there for everybody to see.
Yeah, I don't know, especially with golfers, I feel, there is so much, I know how much emotion goes on, throughout, whether you just walk into a ball, when you're hitting it, watching it, release onto the green, missing a green, roll down. There's so much emotion, and the only way you can tell, really, from someone is to see their eyes and see what that, all those emotions that, I just think that's what we watch it for. It's like watching Rory at the moment. When I watch him, oh my word, I see emotion everywhere because he's so transparent. But as much as, you don't want to see that, because when he's playing well, you won't see it. That's what it's all about. That's what sport is all about. It's about passion. It's about feeling. And I want to see that with the players. And she's not going to change now, to be perfectly honest. She's about to be US Open champion. I'm just saying.
No, I think you're absolutely right to say it as well. And especially in a sport like golf, where everything is self-inflicted, the joy or the despair is totally self-generated.
It's not just headgear, though. You're talking specifically about glasses. You said headgear.
No, but I think that caps and visors get in the way. It's like a crash helmet in motor racing. You can't see, that's why it's so important that those racing drivers are mic'd up, and you hear what they have to say, and you hear their emotion. Well, these golfers aren't mic'd up, and you don't see their full personality when they've got these uniforms on, of whether it's a hat or a visor, and the sunglasses just add to the barriers between us and them. I
agree with the sunglasses. I'm not sure I'm with you on hats.
Listen, you think back to all of those greats that transcended.
I do remember Seve wearing a visor.
He did. You're right.
I do remember
from time to time, but. Remember the picture of him when he held the putt in 1984 at the Open?
Absolutely.
Remember Jack Nicklaus when he won his Opens? Remember Nick Faldo when he won his? Can you remember them wearing a hat?
No, but I don't know whether that...
No, but I could see the emotion in their eyes.
Yeah.
It's the eyes that kill it for me. I've got to be honest. Look, I can see Lydia Ko's eyes here.
You
I
can't.
can tell.
They're shaded.
No, I can.
You can't. You couldn't even tell what colour they are.
Oh, they're green, for goodness sake.
They're not. They're shaded. That's the point. That's my whole point.
Oh, she's just rolled in a birdie putt. That's Lydia Ko, which moves her to 8 under par, and a drop shot for Mina Harigai. So the two of them sharing second place, and 5 shots behind the leader Minji Lee now. So Lydia Ko, the former world #1, has moved up into a share of second place after a birdie for her on the 13th.
Second shot for Minji Lee from 126 yards from, you guessed it, the middle of the fairway. And she has eclipsed her playing partner's approach shot in there. She has put it to 7-8 feet tops. Lovely approach shot in there, and at the very least it'll be a stress-free par, but it may well yield a birdie that would take her to 14 under par, currently leading by 5.
Bronte Law at 4 under par for a birdie for the Englishwoman on the 13th, coming up the hill, and she slaps her thigh in frustration. That one taps in then for the 3 for Bronte Law on the 13th. She'll stay at 4 under par.
You can see her eyes.
Yeah, and they weren't overly happy, were they?
No. But she's got a face that's easy to read, Bronte Law, isn't it? That's why she's compelling to watch.
Very expressive, and what a massive week it's been for her. Rounds of 69, 69 and 68 to get to 7 under par. She's sort of dropped off the radar. She won in Dubai, didn't she, towards the end of last year under the floodlights there, but hasn't really kicked on, I suppose, especially after that performance in the 2019 Solheim Cup, beating Ali McDonald, that crucial point that made it possible for Anna Nordqvist to win for Europe that Solheim Cup. And I think a lot of us expected Bronte Law to be in this kind of position a lot more frequently after that.
Yeah, I think she had a lot of issues after that 2019 Solheim Cup, had a lot of injuries and that I think she tried to play through. Really struggled, and was a massive win actually in Dubai. She birdied 6 of the last 7 holes in that Dubai Classic to win that from absolutely nowhere, and got her confidence back, no question. She's played okay, but yeah, I mean it's difficult for her because she does not have the power game that the likes of Minji Lee and these top players have now, the Tavatanikits. I mean, it's a different world. She's longish, but not like these guys.
But it's having won on the LPGA Tour as well.
Yeah, well, that was back in 2019, wasn't it? So it's a long time ago. It's 3 years ago, and it's not easy to win on the LPGA, but it's more about... And we're just seeing Lexi Thompson finish off here in tears.
She is, isn't she? Gosh. Round of 76. I don't know if that's just disappointment or something else at at play, but she is brimful of emotion there at the end of her round, and she's bending over to take a glove off her hand.
I would hazard a guess that this has huge emotions for her, US Open. She has lost US Opens from unlosable positions, and today she was in a good position to compete, and she shot a real high number, and I think that's just a little bit too much for her at this stage of the game. I don't know, it could be something different, but sometimes this game just gets to you.
And telling after our conversation that the first thing she did when those tears came to her eyes was to clip on those wraparound shades. Mina Harigai with the putt drifting past for the American on the 11th, and that would have meant that she picked up that shot dropped on the 10th. On the 12th, I should say, sorry. In it goes then, so the par with a tap-in par for Mina Harigai, and she will stay 5 shots off the lead at 8 under par.
She knew that she had to make that, didn't she? She's got such a deficit going on at the moment, and also in her wing mirrors is Lydia Ko at 8 under par as well. So she, as we were saying earlier, over $1 million to go to second place, 1.8 million to the winner from this $10 million prize pot. And now Minjee Lee surely would be putting one hand on the trophy if this goes in, because it would take her 6 shots clear with 6 holes to play in the US Open. Left to right on this putt, sends it on its way, it turns towards the hole and it disappears, and a clenched fist from the Australian, who takes another giant step towards her second major title, as Minjee Lee moves to 14 under par and into a 6-stroke lead.
And there's your answer. That's what she looks like when she's happy. She's got a broad smile on her face behind those mirrored shades, has the Australian. And that one, just tickled in at the end, Trish.
Yeah, but you could see all the way. She knew that was in. She could have walked that one in. Perfect line. Just needed the last roll, but it was never missing. It's great when you hit those sort of putts. But you know when you get the line straight away on those. There's a big breaking left to right putt there. Had to get the pace right, but you just start it on the line and you know it's right. What a great feeling.
A 6-shot lead with 6 holes left to play. Choi of South Korea, 7 under par. She's 7 shots back. That one drifting by for birdie for her on the 14th.
The big battle here now is for second place, and it's between Choi at 7 under, Harigai at 8 under, and Lydia Ko, who's also at 8 under par. So 2 players sharing second place, and out in front Minjee Lee. And there's something about this place, Pine Needles. When Annika Sorenstam won her US Open here, when Kyrie Webb won hers, they were massive wins. They were runaway wins. And the other thing to say is that if Minjee Lee shoots 71 or better, she sets a record for the US Open for a 4-round total. It currently stands at 272. Sorenstam in 1996, Julie Inkster 1999, and In-Ji Chun in 2015 all shot 272. And it was a record 200 shots at 13 under par for Minjee Lee after the first 3 rounds. So 71 would set a new record.
Yeah, we do know that the USGA do like to set their championship, their US Opens up ridiculously hard sometimes. I think they've just gone to a top-class golf course, and there isn't too much you can do here. If you play great golf, you're going to shoot good numbers, but you've got to hit the fairways, you've got to hit the greens, you've got to putt well. That pretty much sums it up. And Minjee is doing every single part of that to the top of her game.
I think they've softened their stance a bit, the USGA, in recent years, you know, both for the women and the men.
Don't you think it all got a bit silly?
Yes, I do.
When Mickelson started hitting the ball on the run. I think
at Shinnecock
Hills. So,
yeah, and that was under the stewardship of Mike Davis, who's now left the USGA. John Bodenhammer is now setting up these courses, and it's been noticeable that they've been fairer tests, as we see Minjee Lee here.
Yeah, missing the green on the par 3 13th, 209 yards, and she just bounced it on the slope. It's a tabletop green, and it caught the slope on the front left of the green and down into the hollow in the front to the left-hand side.
Yes.
Mike Davis was very much of the view that you really had to mess with the players' heads. I mean, when they played at Chambers Bay, he said, well, there's no need to have flat teeing grounds, and so the tees were just sort of set up on, big contoured areas of the course, to just mess with the players' heads, and suddenly things, and then quite rightly you highlight Mickelson on the run, hitting a putt almost in protest at Shinnecock Hills in that relatively recent one, and then Mike Davis moved away from the course setup. This John Bodenhammer came in, and they're still tough, they're still stern, but they've not been the outrageous USGA, US Open setups that we'd seen in previous years.
And hazard a guess that's a good thing, because that's utterly ludicrous. To say they don't need to be flat, I mean, dear God.
Much better tee shot from Mina Harigai on the 13th, the par 3, that one curving round the contours of the green and coming in from right to left towards the pin that's cut on that left-hand side, with Minjee Lee, the leader, 6 shots ahead of the rest of the field in the hollow down to the front of that green on the 13th. Do you want to give us a quick leaderboard, Ian? Give us a rundown of where we are? Oh no, Ian cannot hear me. He's about to update our colleagues on Radio 5 Live, so I was wondering why he was just staring off into space, but there's your answer. I can give you a quick rundown of the leaderboard then instead. Minjee Lee, the Australian, 13 under par. She's 6 shots clear now of the rest of the field. Mina Harigai and Lydia Ko, the former world #1 from New Zealand, are in a share for second place. They're both on 8 under par. And I'm just waiting for my computer to update, actually, because it's all a bit out of date. Hye Jin Choi of South Korea, she's in 3rd place, 7 under par at the moment, with Anna Nordqvist, Bronte Law, Maria Jutanagan, all amassing behind them in a tie for 5th. But Minjee Lee, this is becoming a little bit of a procession on this Sunday night, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? We like a bit of pressure, we like a bit of contest, but it looks like the Australian is going to get her hands on a second major title here.
Yeah, I think so. She got off to such a fast start as well, a couple of birdies in the first 2 holes, which puts her in a perfect position, and really no one has put any pressure up on her whatsoever. I mean, it's hard to see at this stage of the game. 6-shot lead, someone that's won multiple events recently, major champion. I don't think I'm sticking my neck on the line when I say I think she's going to enjoy the final 5 or 6 holes of this tournament.
Just watching Leona Maguire hitting her tee shot on the 15th, the first we've seen of the Irish woman, who was in amongst the contenders. She was in a tie for 10th or somewhere around there at the start of the day. The first Irish woman, of course, to win an LPGA event earlier on this year. She's on 2 under par, so 12 shots off the lead now. And that just goes to show you how dominant Minjee Lee has been around Pine Needles over the last 4 days or so. Nelly Korda for a birdie for the American on the 17th. The par 4, this one coming out of the shade and across the face of the green, and drifting by on the right-hand side for Nelly Korda. It's been amazing, hasn't it, Trish, to see her coming back from that surgery, and to see how well she's been hitting the ball, given how little golf she's been playing. Extraordinary,
to be perfectly honest, to have so long out and then to come back and have the US Open as your first event, and to actually compete in it and give it, at one stage there, she was 7 under. Yeah. And I thought, wow, she's got a chance, but unfortunately it hasn't quite panned out the way she would like. But I think she'll be very pleased with the way she's played for most of the week, and just to get back out there, get out amongst the fans and the players again. And I think we discussed earlier, Kat, that she really enjoyed the fact that she's back out playing, and I think she will have missed it tremendously, and realised, she was world #1 when she left. She want that back. She's only slipped to world #2, and all that time she's been away just gave you an idea of how incredibly dominant she was at the start of the year and over the course of the last season as well. Just seen Minjee Lee playing from that hollow
on the front of the 13th. That tee shot from the leader, having found that valley down the left-hand side of the green, and just to get got a shot as well, Trish, of the undulations of that green. It's a tabletop green, and the way that it kind of ripples around the side of that green looks like the tablecloth coming down the side of the green, doesn't it? You can see how tricky those are.
Oh, you've described that to perfection, Kat.
Thank you, I do my best. Are you back with us, Ian?
I'm back.
Yeah, I started
Would you like
talking
that
to you.
leaderboard?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I didn't hear a word of
It was
it.
quite scary because I just looked across and I could in the sort of in the distance here you go, Ian, and I thought there's nothing I can do.
Sorry, we've got dual duties here, haven't we? On updating listeners on Radio 5 Live and bringing you all the action here on 5 Live Sports Extra until the close of play, as Mina Harigai in a tie for second at the moment. The American just leaves that birdie putt a couple of inches to the right-hand side of the cup, so a tap-in par for the American to leave her on 8 under. That would have been really useful. Maybe would have sparked something, Trish, in these closing holes as she comes down the stretch.
Kat, I think you're clutching at this stage of the game.
I really am.
I know you're trying.
I'd love to see this turn into
I know
a
we're really
contest.
trying to make this incredibly, exciting for everybody listening, and it is exciting. But it's not exciting about the player that's going to win. Actually, if Minji wasn't playing, this would be a great championship, wouldn't it? Hey?
I don't know if
It'd be
Benji
buzzing.
drops a shot here, and Harigai had picked up a birdie. The lead had been in 4.
Okay, so she'd have won by 4.
Yeah.
What's your point?
That's the problem, though. She's not been able to apply any pressure. She's no birdies today, 2 drop shots. It's just not happened for her, and no one's bolted from the pack. And with the way that Lee has been attacking this course from the tee and setting up comfortable shots in, it's been relatively stress-free. Although this is to save par at the 13th, but she knocks it in. She knocks it in from 10 feet, and you're able to do that when you've got a 6-shot lead. She's just generated her own virtuous circle, hasn't she?
You've hit the nail on the head. Those putts are so much easier when there is absolutely no pressure on them, really. It's the feeling in your body. At this stage of the game, she's 5 holes away from winning a US Open. Those 3 putts she's holed on those last 3 holes, they've all been really tricky putts, and if it was someone like Lydia Ko putting some pressure on her, then she'd be in a totally different frame of mind.
Jin Young Ko, the world #1, unable to put on the pressure as well. That's despite a birdie for her on the 15th to move her to 5 under par, but that's still 9 off the lead.
Choi with a short-range birdie putt at the 16th takes her into the logjam at 8 under par. That birdie at the par 3 with 2 holes to go. She's sharing second place with Harigai and Lydia Ko.
And you could see there, Trish, Minji Lee running to the next tee, as though you were saying, she's got it in her body. She can feel it in her body. She doesn't want to let it go. She needs to get to the next tee.
Yeah, and this is my favourite hole on the golf course, because I think this is the best hole on the golf course. That bunker, 258 yards. If you're a really long hitter, you can take it over that bunker and leave yourself just a short little flick in. But if you're not, and most players won't be able to, you've got to play back on the left-hand side. This is a big dog leg, sort of left to right. And there's not a lot of room up that left-hand side. And if you hit it up there and you can see this, well, you can't see, the fairway just rolls out to the left-hand side. If you hit it up the left, it's going to keep going left. And I know this from experience. And you're left with the sort of piney, all these pine straws and everything, and a bit of sand, and it's a really difficult shot under the left-hand trees. I think this is a 3-wood. I think if Minji, I don't think she needs driver. I think she just, with a 6-shot lead, she just needs to hit the left-hand side with a 3-wood. But she's an aggressive player, so I wouldn't be surprised if she did it. There's just not a lot of room up the right-hand side, but it's a cracking golf hole, this one.
Her hand was on the head cover of the driver just there, so we wait to see what she goes with. And the way she's been hitting the driver, there's inevitably a lot of confidence going with that club, and it is the driver, but as you say, Trish, it does bring bother potentially into play. But this is someone who is brimful of confidence right now. 1 under par for a round, 14 under par overall, leading the US Open by 6, the Australian. And as easy as you like, but no picking up the tee now. She is watching anxiously as this one flies to the left, bounds towards the rough and the wiregrass, and it tiptoes towards there, and she'll be standing potentially in that sort of rough ground, but significantly, most importantly, her ball is sitting on the beautifully manicured turf of the fairway.
Well, that was almost genius, wasn't it? I very, very nearly called that shot to perfection, even though she hit a good tee shot. But as it was, I didn't. She's in perfect position because now she's coming in from a lovely angle to this flag. But she was worried for a little bit there.
She was trying to put some more movement on it, wasn't she? And it didn't quite come off.
Yeah, it's just, you almost can't see how much that undulates. I mean, it's always difficult when it's a dogleg left to right and it cambers right to left, the fairway. That is a difficult shot to sort of come to terms with. Mina will be all right because she doesn't hit it as far, so she should be perfectly okay with a straight drive.
And this one looks pretty straight. It's bounding down the middle of the fairway, but a significantly shorter hit than Minjee Lee. And I guess that's, I mean, she's had 2 days of it now, of just relentlessly watching the Australian powering much longer drives and maintaining your own rhythm as a shorter hitter. This is something where I can speak with a degree of experience. It can be a bit draining. You have to keep reminding yourself that you swing with your own rhythm. You don't take yourself out of that rhythm, because then it becomes counterproductive.
It is so difficult. I'll give you a rough idea. I mean, every week I play on tour now. So many of these girls, in the old days, it used to just be Laura. Then it became, there's quite a few girls. Now, it's just, players I've never heard of just hit it absolutely ginormous distances, to the extent that last week in Belgium, in the last round, I played with 2 human beings. And I was amazed. It was, we're all chatting to me because all the balls are... And I thought, wow, I have not done that for donkey's year. I can't even remember the last time I was within, 20 or 30.
With?
No, I don't want to say. That's not fair. But and actually, one of the players was fantastic. Shot 67, so it was irrelevant. But it's so unusual. And you are right, Ian. It is so difficult when someone's constantly 50, 60 yards past you. You really do have to be mentally very strong, stay in your own, your own little bubble, and ignore the fact that they've only got a flick in and you've got a 5-iron, and, you've got to make birdies your way and forget what they're doing. But that's easier said than done.
Chat much when you're out there then, Trish? You're saying you managed to have a conversation for the first time in years?
Well, it's difficult to have a conversation when yeah, what club you got? You got wedge? Yeah, I'm just hitting my 5-wood. Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute. It's difficult, but you know what I mean. It's just a different. It was just pleasant. I just actually for once and I shot a decent round as well, so maybe that's something to do with it. Who knows?
Takes the pressure off, I guess.
Yeah, and hats off to Harigai, because she's had 2 days of it now, and the ball striking of Minjee Lee has just been so impressive. I mean, off the tee, she's hitting fairway after fairway after fairway, but long as well.
Well, a perfect example. When we watch Imby now?
Imby Park.
Yeah. And I watch her and I think it's almost impossible for her over 4 days to win against the likes of Tavatanakit and no et al, because they're all hit it that far. And Imby probably carries it now, I don't know, 200 odd yards. That's just, you can't do it. You cannot, she can keep, unless she putts out of her skin, which she always has done, but even that has sort of started to, it just drains you. It drains you mentally.
Interesting that she took herself out of the field for this week, Imby Park, and didn't play because she wants to get her game sorted, and actually didn't enter, and took herself out of a US Open, which is extraordinary, isn't it?
It's very extraordinary. And is that because she wants to get her game in shape, or is that because she's on the verge of quitting?
Well, I don't know.
No.
But
it's an extraordinary thing to do because she's kind of got to that age where when I watch her, I think, well, she's maybe toning down a bit. Seems a strange thing to then, if she's trying to get her game in.
Well, that was the interpretation that I put on it, but she didn't play. We're talking about an Olympic champion, champion in Rio, and one of the most successful players of this generation.
196 yards to the hole for Mina Harigai. She's got the hybrid wood in her hand, white shorts reflecting the sunshine that's coming in through the trees behind her.
Cover.
You can already hear what she's thinking of that one as it bounces down into that white talcum powder sand to the front right of the green. A rueful lick of the lips, Trish.
Yeah, they were shouting cover, which in their language means carry. Cover is the yardage over that right-hand front bunker, and didn't hit it well enough to carry it. Left her a pretty straightforward bunker shot though.
Here's Minji Lee then with her second shot after that tee shot that came so close to going in to the rubbish down the left-hand side from the left corner. She just backs off. She gets ready with this second shot to this beautiful 14th hole. And it's just glorious weather. She's just trampled down that wire grass and then swings with a lovely looking rhythm, but she doesn't look overly pleased with the outcome as that one squirts off to the right and ends up into the bunker which guards the front right of this green.
So some social golf there, Trish. They're both in the same bunker.
I think it's a little bit late for that, but it's very nice of her. Just a tricky lie. She was, her feet were down in the sort of the sandy area, and the ball was just slightly above her feet. She just didn't quite catch it, didn't quite stay down on it long enough, and just squirted a little bit to the right-hand side. But she's an excellent bunker player, so.
Just going back to Inby Park, she didn't play the match play last week either, and her management, I mean, she's 2 times US Open champion, one in 2008, 2013, still only 33 years of age, and a manager said that she's just taking a few weeks off to get back into top form and will nail down her schedule after this US Open.
It's fascinating. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's the stuff you know that other people don't is just extraordinary.
It is his job, Trish, to know everything about golf. You have to remember that. You're out there playing. You're focusing on that.
That's a fair point. All right, you're not as bright as I thought
And
you
it
were.
has to be said
okay.
that I don't really succeed in that mission.
Come on, Ian. Rate yourself. You're the best BBC golf correspondent I know. Ingrid Lindblad, the amateur, on the 15th, long birdie putt for the Swede. Oh, and that one has dropped. That one has dropped, and it was never going anywhere else. Look at the smile on her face. 22 years old, blonde plait swinging over her shoulder as she walks towards the cup to pick that one up. And there you go. You can't say you can't read her emotions. She's got them written all over her face, Trish.
Yeah, well, she's got no cap, she's got no glasses. Just Ian's loving
That's
life
my
over
point.
there.
That's
Absolutely.
my point. There it is.
I was making a point there.
Yeah, I know.
She doesn't have to have a cap. It's the glasses. The glasses kill everything. You can see. Do you know what? What a fantastic feeling this must be as an amateur. She was paired with Annika Sorenstam the first 2 days.
First 2 days, yeah.
How amazing
and
is
shot
that?
65 in the first round.
Absolutely.
Well, she didn't ultimately have the first round lead, but because she was overtaken by Harigai's 64. But for most of that day, she was leading.
Yeah.
And she played magnificently in that first day. And you know what? Because she's still a student, she had to hand in a project this week, and because she was doing so well, she had to go to her tutors and say, I need an extension.
I hope they granted it.
I think they did, but no guarantee.
Mina Harigai, meanwhile, has reached her ball in this, I described it as talcum powder, and I imagine when she swings this wedge through the sand, it will puff up like dust from beneath her ball. And there it goes, that cloud of white sand. And this looks great. This is oh, thought that was going in for a second. Drifts to the right-hand side of the cup and beyond by a couple of feet, but beautifully picked out of the sand there by Mina Harigai, and Minji Lee, well, she'll have had a good read of that one, Trish, because that was just about perfect, only missing by a couple of millimetres.
Yeah, she's played that to perfection. And interesting, watching her, the way her practice swings, I was a bit dubious as to how she is in bunkers, but she's played that beautifully. A little bit unlucky, actually. Looks like it's going to literally fall in the hole, and just at the last second you can see how much it just falls way down to the right hand side of the last couple of yards. So we'll have given Minji a little clue. She's in a slightly different angle, coming more straight up at the hole, but slightly less distance as well, but giving her an idea of how this breaks just when it gets to the hole.
Slightly closer to the rolled face of this bunker as well, but it's lying quite nicely there, right on the edge of the shadow cast by the face of the bunker. And there, languid swing, chops it up on a high trajectory, not quite as well as her playing partner, but pretty well. The ball running into the shadows where the hole is located, maybe 5 feet, something like that, to save par for Minji Lee, and that would keep her at 14 under par and still 6 clear of the field.
Choi, who's also in a tie for second with Lydia Ko and Mina Harigai at 8 under par. Long birdie putt for the South Korean on the 17th, I should say, and that one comes up short in the shadows. A dip of the head for the Korean as she marches after that one. That would have given her second place outright if that had dropped.
So we turn our attention back to the final pair, and that is Minji Lee and Mina Harigai. Minji Lee, who's been top 10 for the last 5 years in this event. Now she pops that folder that's got a scorecard and a yardage book into the pocket at the back of her black skirt, mint green top, and she's just gonna go through every little nuance of this putt that she faces. Doesn't want to waste a single shot. This has got a little bit to think about here, hasn't it, Trish?
Yeah, she has. She has. She's just, the good news here though is she's left herself below the hole, and I think that was actually in her mind, the way she played that. Whatever you do, don't leave yourself above the hole. That way she can give this a little bit of a wrap, and it's just going to go straight up. There's not a lot in it.
Maybe just turn from the left at the end. That's what she's hoping, and it does, and it goes into the middle of the cup. Excellent up and down from the greenside bunker. That could have been a tricky one, but she's negotiated it unscathed and remains at 14 under par. That's 4 consecutive single putts for Minji Lee, so that tells you exactly how fine she's feeling about life on the greens right now.
Yeah, very clever play that. Just made sure she left the bunker shot under the hole. Wasn't trying to be too aggressive or too flashy. And she left herself a straightforward putt. And the way she's putting, she was never going to miss that.
Choi saves her par at the 17th after coming up short with the initial putt. And that will keep her in the share of second place with Harigai and Lydia Ko at 8 under par, 6 shots behind. That's assuming that Harigai makes this putt after very nearly holing her bunker shot. And the hole, as I say, is just in the dappled shadows of the tall tree to the left of the green. Just widens her stance a tad, and then at the last moment pops her right hand, that's the ungloved hand, onto the grip using that claw grip, and then rocks the shoulders and sends the ball into the cup with the minimum of fuss. It looks a wonderful putting stroke, that, actually, doesn't it? When it's working well, it just looks like nothing can go wrong with it.
No, she's very solid from that sort of distance. Hasn't really holed much else today, but hasn't really played well enough to sort of shoot really low number to put any pressure on Minji, I don't think.
No. What do you make of the gloved hand for the putting? Most players like to remove the glove for their putting.
Well, the only other player I know that does that, certainly on the ladies' tour, is Lexi, and yeah, she wouldn't be one that I would want to putt particularly like.
Jack Nicklaus did pretty well with a gloved hand.
Yeah, you are talking about a slightly different kettle of fish, aren't you?
I suppose so. Well, here's Lindblad with her tee shot at the par 3 16th, finding the bunker just to the right of the green. A look of disgust on her face. We can see that unencumbered. And she slams the club into the bag. And we see the full gamut of her emotions there.
That was quite a contrast, wasn't it? To that birdie putt, it was all smiles and skipping. And that was slamming doors and I hate you, mums.
You get a lot of that, do you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's on its way.
I know. Yeah. Yes, it's on its way.
For anyone wondering about Bronte Law, 3 over par today. She's playing the 15th at the moment, but she's been pretty steady. She just had that one bad hole early in a round. Started off with a bogey 6 at the first, picked up a birdie at the 4th, dropped a shot at the 6th. Where she had a bogey 5 and then compounded that with a double bogey at the 7th. Picked up a birdie at the 10th, drop shot at the 11th. It's been par golf thereafter. Had a real chance for a birdie, of course, on the 13th, but a lot for her to play for. And not necessarily just the elevated prize fund, but the world ranking points that could really propel her up the rankings. You know, we were talking about her earlier on, but she's down at 143 in the world rankings. And she's better than that. Yeah,
no, she definitely is better than that. And confidence taken a real knock, no two ways about that. But yeah, I mean, you know, listen, we play this game for a living. So, of course, you're looking at the financial aspect of everything. But also confidence-wise, it's so important. You know, we're only just sort of at the start of these majors. There's a couple more to play for in the next, certainly in the next couple of months as well. And if you just get your confidence up with a good finish here, that can really, you know, stand you in good stead for the next couple of months.
Hugely inviting looking hole, this, the 15th, spreading out in front of Mina Harigai. The par 5, she's just seen Minji Lee, the leader, unleashing one down the right-hand side of the fairway in the shadows of the pine trees that stand sentry on either side of the grass, and sandy areas spilling into that smooth green. Both players have avoided the pitfalls of those, though, and both on the fairway. It looks absolutely lovely, this par 5, Trish.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it pretty much is a beauty of a hole, but on this golf course, pretty much every hole is. 15 is it's a real birdie chance, 15. So, because this is one of the flattest greens on the golf course. So your approach shot in here, if you've got a wedge or a short little sort of sand iron shot, it's a very inviting shot to get near the flag, especially with the pin today that's back left, and that's one of the flattest parts of the green.
Well, Bronte Law finding the greenside bunker in 2 and playing a magnificent bunker shot up to the hole side. So a tap in for a birdie for Bronte, and that would take her to 5 under par, take her ahead of Anna Nordqvist and into 6th place outright.
Purple stripes on her shoes for Ingrid Lindblad, this exciting Swedish amateur who found the sand on the 16th, the par 3 with her tee shot, playing out of the bunker and back onto the green with her second shot 3 feet or so from the hole.
Fantastic to see Sophie Gustafsson there caddying for Lindblad after, as we were saying earlier, a glorious career of her own. And there's a real element of giving back, isn't there, in this? And I know she's popped up caddying for other people as well. Have you ever caddied for people, Trish? Or
do you know, I caddied for Laura last year in Portland. The only thing she forgot to tell me was there's the hilliest golf course that's ever existed on the LPGA, which Portland, I've played many a tournament there, and it's a dead flat golf course. But so it was well, I loved it. I got to be honest, if you can't play, if you get a good player, I think caddying is just top notch. The only thing it's difficult is it's physically very demanding. But I think it's a fabulous job. And to be fair to Sophie was on Beth Allen's bag when Beth won the money list. So there is definitely something in having a player, one, who's very good, and 2, that knows what they're doing, how to get over the line.
Roars you may have heard in the background, cheers as the world number 1 Jin Young Ko raises her arms in the air on the 17th with a long birdie putt coming down the green and dropping into the hole to move her to 6 under par.
Lydia Ko now looking to save par at the 15th, remain at 8 under, missing to the right edge. She was putting from around about 8-9 feet, and she taps that in rather resignedly for only a bogey, and that drops her back to 7 under par. And just up ahead, Lindblad managed to just hole out and successfully complete an up and down at the 16th, the par 3, and that keeps her at 2 under par. And we saw there just the efficiency of her putting stroke, the confidence of it, as she just rammed home that par save from 6-7 feet.
Yeah, and I must admit, for one so young to be, have that confidence with the putter, I'd love to see her in 10 years' time, see if she's still whacking them in at that pace.
The folly of youth, perhaps. And you can see the evening shadows as well lengthening across the fairways at Pine Needles in North Carolina. Perhaps some of the sting going out of that afternoon sun. Mina Harigai and Minji Lee in the shadows down the right-hand side where the trees stand tall close to the fairway. And that's the chewing of the lip I was telling you about. Minji Lee contemplating her second shot on this 533-yard par 5, but it's Harigai to play first, 290 yards away from the green, which is off in the distance through the tunnel of trees that just funnel the ball, or should funnel the ball, down towards the green. This one, though, leaking off towards the left-hand side. It's not going to find any trouble there, bounding out into that afternoon sunshine. Nowhere near the green.
No, just laying up 290 yards, wants to leave herself a number that she really likes rather than just a sort of 30 or 40 yard, pitch, which is no fun for anyone.
Minji Lee hasn't been doing much laying up, has she? She's been going for these greens.
And she's going for it again, takes the fairway wood from the bag, either a 3 or 5 wood. Inscrutable behind the sunglasses beneath that white cap. 1 practice swing, 2 practice swings, just feeling the rhythm of the shot, and then picking up a little bit of fairway grass just to confirm her feeling about the breeze. Very little breeze, perfect golfing conditions. A late afternoon in North Carolina. 271 yards out, bunker guarding the front right of this green, and she launches it up into the air, and it bounces up towards the front of the green, and it bounds onto the putting surface, and it hammers up towards the flag. And there is another shot that is surely taking her to a second major title, and the most prestigious title in the women's game, the US Open, because she set up a eagle chance. And the reason I'm laughing is because she pulled her sunglasses down across her mouth so that the sunglasses could disguise and make sure that we couldn't even see her smiling.
Oh, you're such a cynic. She was smiling with her eyes because she wanted her eyes to enjoy that shot.
But isn't it ironic? She takes her sunglasses down to see if she can see the ball on the green.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's getting shady now. She doesn't need those sunglasses. You watch, she'll take them off for the final stretch.
Can I just say, what an unbelievable golf shot.
Great shot, wasn't it?
That just shows where she is. She's just absolutely ripped that 3-wood. There's trouble, or miss it right or left, you're in all sorts of trouble. She's just not even thought about any trouble, just ripped it to 20 feet. That's brilliant golf.
And the sound of that ball hitting, the club head hitting that ball was so pure, wasn't it? And her feet were way down below the level of the ball.
Yeah, it's just a really solid golf swing, but she's just pounded with confidence. And watching someone play this sort of golf when they're absolutely buzzing is a real joy, because you can feel how good they are. It's just amazing.
So it's Minji Lee, 14 under par, 6 shots clear of Haejin Choi of South Korea and Mina Harigai of the United States. Lydia Ko of New Zealand at 7 under par. Jin Young Ko, the world number 1, at 6 under par. All these players heading towards the ends of their rounds. Bronte Law on to the par 3, 16th at 5 under par. 2 over par for the day now after confirmation of that birdie at the 15th. Anna Nordqvist, the reigning Women's Open champion, playing the last. 2 over par today, 4 under overall. And Nelly Korda was rounding 73 today, current world number 2 at 2 under par alongside Megan Kang. And Leona Maguire, disappointing day for the Irish woman, a 74 today to finish her US Open at 2 under par.
So that's how it stands with the leaders, the final pairing out on the course, playing the 15th, a long par 5. And Mina Harigai is a good 90 yards or so off the green here, but in bright North Carolina sunshine. 106 yards it is. The true measurement has just come up and I was 10 yards short. Long shadow cast by the American in bright white golf shoes, white shorts, red t-shirt, and hitting out of the sunshine and back into the shade. The green, that tabletop green, bounces once, bounces twice, and comes up. You can hear an enormous yes come from the crowd. They like that one. 3 feet, 2.5 feet from the pin for Mina Harigai. That's why she laid up, Trish. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, I mean, 106 is an unusual number. Must be right on her number, though, because that was all over the flag, and she's got a really, really decent birdie chance. A little bit quick, that putt down the hill, but yeah, it might not be worrying the leader, but I tell you what, second place, it's a huge, huge goal.
And a bogey to finish for Hae-Jin Choi of South Korea. She taps in to finish at 7 under par, a round of 70 to set the new clubhouse lead. As it stands, that's the best score in the house right now, 7 under par, out on the course with 3 holes to play. Lydia Ko is also at 7 under.
Ingrid Lindblad is playing into the 17th. That hugely undulating green with the big ridge running down the centre of it. And that ball has caught one of those undulations and run off the back to within a couple of feet of the white sand wasteland over the back of that. And down the fairway, we're seeing Lindblad just rehearsing that backswing, the backswing that she feels did not deliver for her with that one. She stands there with one hand on her hip and her face set in a grim line.
We're seeing all her emotions in the space of 5 minutes, isn't it?
If you like reading a player's emotions, you've got to be a big fan of Ingrid Lindblad.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not difficult to see them, is it? As she only has her blonde hair on her head and no cap. Just saying. Minji Lee.
Broken records come to mind, Ian.
Well, it's just the point. You keep going on about her emotions and you can see them. That's the point. 25 feet for Minji Lee for birdie to move to 15 under par and 7 shots clear for eagle, I should say. And she sends it up towards the hole, leaves it on the low side. That'll be a tap in for a birdie. I think both of these players are going to birdie this 15th hole after that wonderful approach from Harigai. And that would be Harigai's first birdie of the day. I think Minji Lee's going to make her birdie as well.
Lydia Ko at 7 under par and a tie for third, playing out of the sand at the par 3 16th. That puff, that cloud of talcum powder sand, and she's left that one short of the hole, tapping the sand out of the grips in her shoes as she leaves the bunker and wishing she'd put a few more feet on that one.
7 professional wins for Harigai in her career, but none on the LPGA Tour. Played in the 2021 Solheim Cup for the United States. Japanese parents. She also played in the 2008 Curtis Cup, which is the amateur version of the Solheim Cup. Great Britain and Ireland against the United States in that, ranked 52 in the world, from Monterey in California. She actually won the Women's California Amateur at the age of 12. So an extraordinary prodigy she was, but playing a 47th major. This will be her first top 10 in any major, and she makes her first birdie of the day by tapping in from 2.5, 3 feet tops, and there's a smile on her face as she wanders off with that birdie in her back pocket.
And briefly, the lead is cut to 5 as we see Lydia Ko putting for her part on the par 3 16th. Work to do on this one, 3 feet or so, and it's coming round from right to left, catches that right-hand side of the cup and drops in. And Lydia Ko, well, she's looking like she is a woman who's had a chance or two missed today. Her face tells the story.
Here's the leader looking for a 2-putt birdie at the 15th and finding it by nonchalantly knocking the ball into the cup. And there's a smile on her face as she shows the ball to the crowd, just nudges those sunglasses further up the bridge of her nose and marches off. It is a march as well. It's a march to glory. It's a march to the biggest prize in women's golf for Minji Lee. She leads by 6 now at 15 under par as she heads to the 16th tee.
Yep, there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Jin Young Ko, even the world #1, unable to produce anything to stop Minji Lee from marching to that second major title for the Australian. The career with a smile on her face, her sunglasses on the top of her hat, as she hits a beautiful approach into the 18th. 6 under par, the world #1, and she will finish in 5th.
Beautifully done. We're just seeing a replay from last night of her chipping in on that 18th, as we now look at what's happening right now, which is Lindblad chipping and bunting this forward on the 17th, and this one needs to get a hurry on, and it's not quite getting to the right level, and that's a little bit beyond the 10-foot mark, so there might be some jeopardy on this putt.
Very good, very good. Well, it got a lot further than it looked at first glance. It looked like she'd left it way short, but it rolled out a little bit, so she's got a chance of a par. Pretty unlucky with that second shot, just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. Left her in a horrible lie at the back of the green.
Looking at this par 3 16th hole and getting a graphic that shows the average proximity to the hole off this tee is 30 feet for the field today, so that just shows you how challenging the flag position is on this hole, which is located tight to the right hand side, and there's a nasty bunker that's sitting waiting for anything that's pushed any further right of the flag.
Yeah, the flag's 9 on 6 from the right, and the difficulty being is that the green, just everything wants to run off to the left hand side, so you can't just hit it at the left hand side and leave yourself a putt, because you're just going to keep going left and left. So you've got to sort of take on the flag a little bit, and if you just slightly push it to the right hand side, it's going to kick right into that bunker and you're going to short side yourself.
And when you say 6 from the right, sometimes you'd think to yourself, well, that's relatively comfortable, but because of the turtleback nature of these greens, upturned saucers if you like, there's sort of at least a yard around the perimeter, the circumference of the green if you like, is tilting away from the putting surface, so it's a lot tighter than 6 paces would suggest. Well, here's the tee shot of the leader Lee, and she lands it just short of the green, allows it to bounce up onto the putting surface, and that's beautifully judged, and she's put it certainly within that 30-foot radius, so she's better than the average of the field. She takes the sunglasses down again just to confirm where the ball is. She peers down at the green on this par 3, and she'll like what she sees, because she's set up an outside birdie chance around the 20-foot mark.
Yeah, really clever shot. You pitch it on the green, you take your life in your hands, you just pitch it short into that bank, kills it, just let the final few yards, just the momentum of the ball just run up, and she's left herself a perfect putt. All she needs are pars, doesn't need to bring anything else into play, and she's cruising.
Been admiring the footwear of Mina Harigai's caddy. He's got red and white high top trainers and then blue star-spangled socks. No mistaking where he's from. It's a 7-iron for Harigai. Minji Lee hit the 9, so a bit more club for Harigai. Just been reading the course notes as well, and this hole is described as a solid and scenic par 3. Definitely scenic. I don't know quite what they mean by solid. The green certainly looks solid as Mina Harigai's ball bounces once or twice on it. and comes to a stop just beyond the pin. And that one as well as a birdie chance coming up for the American.
I've enjoyed the way that players have been able to run the ball into the greens and not just play target golf, dartboard golf, as I would call it. They're having to read the pace of the greens from the tees on the par threes and for the approach shots coming in, especially if they're coming from the rough and they can't apply the spin. I think it's been a really, really attractive tournament to watch, championship to watch, because of the golf course. It challenges so many different aspects of each of these players' games, and I think this is the way forward for the game. When it combats distance and that sort of thing, you can't bomb and gouge your way around here.
No, you can't. Absolutely. And I think any golf course that where, you can use your imagination, and if you're, someone that can see shots, play different flights, both left to right, right to left, low, high, the better the ball striker, obviously, the easier the game is. And Minji is at the very, very top of her game. I think that shows. And it's just a fun golf course. But when I say fun, that don't take that to mean it's easy. It isn't at all. There's lots of undulations. You've got to judge things to perfection, and I think it makes it way more interesting for us as viewers to watch.
Jin Young Ko for her birdie at the 18th. World number one, putting through the shadows and not quite giving it enough. She'll have to deal with just a par at the last, and that will not be enough to share the clubhouse lead as it stands at 7 under. And she taps it in. It's going to be a top 10 finish for Jin Young Ko. Rounds of 69, 67, 71, 71, and she finishes at 6 under par. Lindblad missed that putt, by the way.
Yes, she did.
Must have been outside 10 feet.
Drop shot for the Swedish amateur on the 17th, and she was suitably irate, as you'd expect.
Not overly chuffed, was she?
No. We're going to be watching her, aren't we, though, in the future, with her emotions etched all over her face. She's been very entertaining to watch.
Who's the most emotional golfer that you can remember, Ian, in the history of you watching golf? Who's the most emotional?
Monty was right up there, wasn't he? Things didn't go particularly well. Darren Clark, I think, his face, I mean, he wouldn't go nuts, but his face would really be a face of thunder if he wasn't.
Contortion.
I mean, honestly, you'd look at him if he just, messed up on the last couple of holes, and you think, it'd be quite nice to have a chat with them. No, maybe I won't.
What about you, Kat? You think
I had to back away from Darren Clark when I was doing my commentary training. He couldn't hear me like Anna Nordqvist could hear Ian, but we were in his line of sight, and I was learning where to stand and what to say, and we had to back away from Darren Clark like an angry bull in a field. That's
a very good simile. I like that. Harigai misses with her birdie putt on 16. Finishes pretty much round the back of the hole, so it was nicely judged. Just overcooked it on pace, but it should be a straightforward par 3 for her. And really, she's involved in a battle for second place, which is winning by 2 shots at the moment from Haijin Choi, the clubhouse leader, at 7 under, and Lydia Ko at 7 under.
Lydia Ko just drifting off into the bunker on the left-hand side of the green on the 17th. And it's just, we haven't seen Lydia Ko doing anything particularly impressive over these past couple of holes. She's just clinging on in there in third, but drifted a couple of shots back from Mina Harigai.
Nicholas Colsaerts could get quite irate from time to time. He'd be quite emotional, but here is Minji Lee from just over 20 feet. Sends it on its way, looking for another birdie, and missing just to the right. Should be a par 3 there, but slightly overcooked it on the pace front.
Took her glasses off. See, couldn't tell, couldn't get the pace right. Leave those glasses on, girl.
Bronte Law on the 17th, the leading British golfer at 4 under par, hitting through those shadows that dapple the fairway, and a slight puff of sand as it lands on that fringe in front of the green and trundles up towards the hole. Perfectly judged from Bronte Law. It's almost pin high, just a couple of feet short, and 10 or so from the flag. Smile on the face of Bronte Law.
You know how good a shot that is if Bronte's smiling, I'm telling you. That's she's delighted with that. That is not an easy... That's a tough second shot. The 426 yards they've made 17, which is a bit of a dogleg as well. That's a tough shot. And she's judged that to a bit like you said, Ian. It's nice to be able to see that shot. You know, you can hit it in a bit lower and just let it run up. And if you judge it to perfection, well, she's got a great birdie chance.
I always used to love watching those shots to the 17th and 18th on the West Course at Wentworth, when they could run
in the old days.
Run them up in the old days. I mean, you can't do that obviously on the 18th now because of the water that they've put in front of the 18th and the 17th.
You can't do it on 17 either because of the contours. They've changed the green. You know, you're dead right though. That was fun.
It's great to watch. Anyway, this is just such a great course, Pine Needles. And here is Harigai to save her par at the 16th. Sends the ball forward and into the cup, and that is a routine par 3. A smile on her face. She waves to the crowd, a par to follow the birdie at the 15th, and at 9 under, 2 shots clear in second place. So she's looking at $1 million, $1.08 million for finishing second. Oof.
Not bad. I'd say Jordan Spieth for me, Rory McIlroy.
Yes.
You can read what they're thinking when you watch them play. And you can
Spieth,
hear.
definitely.
Yeah, you can hear. What's the slump of the shoulders for Rory there? Oh, no.
But he doesn't kind of... He bounces along the fairway, but when he's really he just gives a little faint fist pump, doesn't he? He doesn't go nuts.
It's the walk, though, for Rory, isn't it? It's the balls of the feet. Springs in the balls of his feet as Minjee Lee lips out with a tap in for her par on the 16th. That's a drop shot for the leader. Just caught that left-hand lip of the cup and catapulted out by a couple of inches, and she's chewing the inside of her face, as I said she does when she's got something to think about. And the lead is reduced to 5 shots now for Minjee Lee. Just a foot, that putt. Just didn't get it quite right.
Well, that was an uncharacteristic 3-putt, wasn't it, from Minjee Lee? So we see Lydia Ko at the 17th, third shot from the bunker to the left, short of the green, and sends this up towards the flag. Beautifully judged by the New Zealander. Wonderful shot from Lydia Ko, who's always a joy to watch, I think, Lydia Ko. I love her brand of golf.
Yeah, she's just a delightful person, actually. And, you know, she's the sort of person you always want to see play well, because she sort of behaves in a manner that you would like every player to.
Very engaging interviewee.
Top notch.
Very much enjoyed her comments about why she didn't play so well a few months ago, because it was the wrong time of the month. She was like, "You've got me, girls. You know what I'm saying?"
and honestly, people get so embarrassed about those sort of things. Why are you embarrassed about it? It happens to us all.
It happens to all these athletes out there today.
Yeah, and it's so hard to deal with, and no one ever talks to them. People get really just have to deal with it, unfortunately.
It was a really important interview, that.
It
was. And it was just a little post-round interview, but it said so much, and so many of those interviews say nothing, if I'm brutally honest.
We learned something new, didn't we? And it made people think. It made people think differently about these athletes. Mina Harigai heading down the right-hand side into the sand on the right-hand side of the fairway on the 17th, and that one has just found a patch of the white scrub down that right-hand side, away from all the dune grass. She's not in any trouble. Bronte Law on the 17th. In it goes for the Englishwoman, and a pump of the fist for Bronte, picking up a birdie on the 17th to take her to 5 under par. That could be very useful payday for Bronte, couldn't it, Trish?
Yeah, it certainly could. If she could make one more at 18, that would catapult her into the sort of top Oh, top 5, and that will be a massive payday. She'll be loving life there. As would Ken, her caddy. He would be a very, very happy camper.
Very happy Ken the camper caddy. Yeah, Bronte Law currently in 6th with that birdie on the 17th, moves to 5 under par. Minjee Lee, though, the leader, is on the 17th. And this one, well, what a dogleg round to the left-hand side. Pine trees funneling the ball round to the left, and she's caught the corner. That one seems to be bounding down safely onto the fairway. It looked very tight to those trees for a minute, though, Trish. She's got away with it.
It's a big dog leg. It really is. And if you can keep it tight there, you've taken off a massive amount of yardage. And I would say she is in... I don't think she could go down there and place that any better, to be perfectly honest. It's absolutely A1 where it is now.
So dropped shot for Minjee Lee on the 16th. Here she is walking down the 17th with a 5-shot lead. She's put the sunglasses on, still inscrutable behind those as she closes in on a second major title. Lydia Ko, though, up ahead on the 17th green for her par for the New Zealander. Oh, and that one's lipped out for Lydia Ko. It's another mistake for the former world #1. It's just not been a good run of holes for Lydia Ko. A drop shot then with a bogey for Lydia Ko on the 17th. Moves her to 6 under par in a share of 4th place with Jin Young Ko, the world #1. Just having a check of Lydia Ko's scorecard. And my computer won't let me have a proper look at it, but I'll keep you updated on that in just a moment to see where she's been dropping all of those shots. Ingrid Lindblad, though, the Swedish amateur, just finishing off her round on the 18th. Another well-judged putt from the very blonde-haired Swedish 22-year-old. Runner-up at Augusta at the Women's Amateur earlier on this year. And now making a name for herself at the US Open. What's impressed you most about her game, Trish? Is it the putter or is it the irons?
I think she looks a powerful player. You can tell she gives it a rip.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. She looks pretty fearless. To be fair, it's easy to be fearless when you're an amateur playing in a pro event. But it's impressive in this last round to see how she's fared under this sort of pressure. Yeah, she's over par today, but to finish her first US Open at Pine Needles under par would be a tremendous achievement.
Yeah, she's 1 under par for the day as she stands on the 18th with just a foot or so back towards the hole. Lin from China leaving that one short her birdie chance at 2 under par, but Lindblad will finish, she hopes, in a tie for 12th, just outside the top 10 at a major championship. Not bad at all for an amateur, but she's clearly got high expectations of herself, Trish, which is what I like about her. She's not letting herself off. She's not making excuses for herself being an amateur.
No, I don't think any of these amateurs now are. I mean, on all tours all over the world, you look and you see amateurs leading, and you see the college system in America is so professional these days. To be perfectly honest, they are more ready to play professional golf with 4 years at college than any pro that turns pro in their first year if they haven't been there. These guys play under immense pressure in team competitions, and you need to be ready and you're definitely ready the moment you come out to play pro golf, because you've basically played pro golf for 4 years with a lot of pressure because your teammates are relying on you every week.
Well, she's already won 2 professional titles on the Nordic Tour, so she's played pros and beaten them, down the already in a young career. So yeah, I think this is someone that I think future European Solheim Cup captains will already have on their radar. Maybe it might come a little bit too early for Suzanne Pettersson, but you never know. No,
you don't. And to be fair, we've got so many top European, golfers, young girls these days that, I mean, crikey, the sky's the limit, really.
That's going to be a great occasion in Spain, isn't it? I think a courtesan next year. really, it could be a really exciting year next year with both the Solheim and Ryder Cups as we build towards them.
Both of them in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. Ryder Cup in Italy.
Spain and Italy. Who'd have thought that, eh? Amazing.
Good time to be a golf correspondent, wouldn't it?
Still not had a Solheim Cup in England. Can you Adam and Eve that, eh? Ever. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Totally. Totes. Here's Harigai from the sandy waste down the right-hand side of the 17th. Just a little bit of that wire grass just getting into her head for a backswing. And she just backs away and resets herself. These are an important couple of holes for Harigai. She wants to consolidate this position in second place at 9 under par, 2 clear of the clubhouse leader, Haijin Choi, but 5 shots behind the leader, Minji Lee. She's just standing on the sandy waste as well, her heels just touching the fairway. But it's a slightly unstable stance here. She looks to have made clean contact there, and she watches, she's saying be good, which is always a good sign, and it is good. It bounces onto the putting surface and trundles forward up towards the flag. It comes up probably around about 30 feet short, but I think she'll be pretty pleased with that.
I should be absolutely delighted. I mean, that's a tremendous shot. It was lying pretty well, to be fair, but it was just her stance, as long as her feet didn't sort of slip at all. But she's caught that to perfection. It's funny, I was just thinking, she's never won a tournament on the LPGA. Her caddy will be thinking, blimey, 7% of a million. He's looking at a large amount of cash.
Yeah, 250 starts winless, I read, for Mina Harigai, which is a long time to be playing on the tour, isn't it, without a win in your pocket. Minji Lee, though, she's closing in on a second major win, and inscrutable again behind those shades, just brushing the face of her iron on the grass. She's put her approach shot onto the putting surface about 20-25 feet from the flag.
We can give this to Lindblad. It's inside 10 feet comfortably, and it goes into the middle of the cup. And what a week it's been for this young Swede. Played the first 2 rounds with Annika Sorenstam, shot 65 in the first round. It's a 76 to finish in the end, but she hugs her caddy, the great Sophie Gustafsson, and she walks off having announced herself to the world. Ingrid Lindblad, remember the name, the amateur, a round of 76 to finish at 1 under par and just outside the top 10 in a share of 11th place as it stands. But what a performance at this US Open from this remarkable young Swede.
Absolutely stunning. We shouldn't be surprised anymore, I don't think, with these young players. They're so ready to come out and play, but nonetheless, the pressure to finish top 11 in a US Open, your first US Open. And I tell you what, it's got my interest for next week when she's playing on her home course against the men in the Scandic mixed team event. Well, it's not a mixed team event, but the mixed event at Halmstad. I mean, she knows the course like the back of her hand. Wow, could be an outside chance.
So the format for that one is that it's men and women playing, but it's not separate competitions.
No, I'm afraid not. No, it's men against the women, which I'm not a big fan of. I think it's almost an impossible situation for the women to win. You can get a couple that have a chance to be up there, but if you look at the results in the last bunch of them, it's just, you can't make the golf course as playable for the women as you can for the men. You can make it shorter, but it's still irrelevant if a guy's hitting a 7-iron in and you're hitting a 7-iron in. They're coming from an apex of 30 feet higher than you. So if the pins are the same for each of you, how on earth could you make that fair? You can't do it. And until our tour understand that you can't do it, it's going to keep happening. You can play in the same event, as in Ireland we're doing, but for separate purses. That's great. Like the Victoria Open, that's great. You get to see both men and the women, but they have to be separate purses.
I love the idea of the players sharing the same stage. I think that is massive, a massive opportunity for the game of golf, and to really showcase talent from both genders. But I agree with you. It doesn't work for me trying to artificially set it up with a shorter course for the women. It doesn't, for exactly the way that you explained it.
48 feet up the hill on the 17th for Minji Lee for a birdie. That one drifting off to the left front of the pin, and she purses her lips as she marches after that one. 3 feet or so back towards the hole for a par on the 17th. It's all she needs to do.
Of course, the elephant in the room is the other tournament that is happening next week, which is in Europe, which will be at the Centurion Club, and Greg Norman's $25 million event, which be interesting to get your thoughts on that before we go, Trish. I just genuinely don't know what to expect. I'm going to go along to it. We know pretty much the field now, and it's well, they are just the most fascinating times, certainly for the men's game, that I've known in the time that I've been covering the sport.
Mina Harigai with her long-range birdie coming off the ridge on the 17th green. This one's curling round. This one's looking good. Comes to a stop a few inches from the cup. No birdie then for Harigai. That would have moved her to 10 under par 4 off the lead. And it's just going to be a tap in for... Oh, she's going to do a Trish. She's going to do a Trish on the 17th. She's worried about standing on Minji Lee's line, which is
only
just
slight
what Trish did.
She was only a foot away, and I was 4 foot away.
Ooh.
Stupid. Not that I haven't got over it, because I have.
To the 18th, and Bronte Law's second shot in, the English player from Stockport. Oh, it'd be lovely if she could make a birdie at the last, but if she's going to do it, she'll have to do it from long range, because she only finds the front quarter of the green, and the flag is located in the back quarter of the green, so probably 35 feet away for Bronte Law after that approach shot came up a tad shorter than she would have liked.
The sun's rays flaring through the pine trees on the 17th, and Minji Lee in the shade on the smooth surface of the green, putting that one forward and into the hole for her par on the 17th. And she punches the air because she knows now that she is just 1 hole away from her second major title, and she has a 5-shot lead as she heads to the 18th tee.
So Kevin Na resigned from the PGA Tour because he's in the field at Centurion. That's the latest development. I think there are going to be a lot of developments over the next week or so. As soon as these players tee it up, we're expecting the PGA Tour, potentially the DP World Tour, which was formerly known as the European Tour, to start taking sanctions against these players because they have effectively ignored being barred from playing in this tournament. They applied for waivers that weren't given. It's an extraordinary situation, isn't it, Trish?
Yeah, it really is. It's a worrying situation as well for both tours, both DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, I think. And it smacks of something that's going to be caught up in the courts for a long time, which is, again, very worrying. I think I don't know. I can't see where it ends, because there's a bottomless pit of money as far as the Saudis are concerned, and I don't think they're going to stop. And that's extremely worrying. And personally, I know everybody says that we're professionals and we've got to try and make as much money as possible, but a tour that has no jeopardy, that has no cuts, when the last prize is 120,000 and the first prize is 4 million, to me is really quite vulgar. And everybody's entitled to do what they want, but everybody's also entitled to an opinion, and I think that word sums it up. It's vulgar.
It doesn't feel, I think a lot of people won't find it particularly appetizing at the current economic times to see golfers playing for that kind of money, which, with, as you say, no jeopardy of missing a cut, not having a payday. You're guaranteed a minimum $120,000 for playing golf, when obviously some people are going to turn around and say, well, I can't even put the heating on.
No, there is that, and there's also the fact that golf has been played with a view to a world ranking, winning majors. This is just purely about money. I mean, at the end of the day, no one cares who wins. As a fan, you don't give a damn who wins, apart from the fact, someone's made $4 million, which is just beyond. So if you don't care who wins, what's it all about? Well, we know what it's about. It's about money.
Where's the glory?
Yeah, there is none. And of course those players are going to say, well, I'm winning 4 million. And don't get me wrong, I can understand certain players, and I could understand, the likes of Richard Bland, someone like that. I totally get that. He's been playing all his life, he's not made millions and millions. But the players that are absolutely multi-millionaires, I just don't get it. And to say, I heard one player say, well, we've got to look after our families. Do me a favour. Seriously? Because what you're talking about, people putting the heating on, we've got to look after our how many millions do you need to look after your families? And is there no loyalty whatsoever for these players, for the tours that have got them where they are? Look, I know there'll be a lot of people that turn around, well, you do exactly the same. Actually, if I had the amount of money they have, I would not. And I can absolutely say that hand on heart. But, as we say, it's a talking point. Everybody is entitled to do whatever they want to do. For me, personally, I think it's going to get very ugly.
Were there any surprises for you on the list of players who've come out on that field for this weekend, next weekend?
I haven't seen the whole field. I mean, Dustin Johnson, that blows my mind. Absolutely. When I saw that
was a surprise for me.
Summed up everything it's all about. But the one that did, was Ian Poulter. That really surprised me, in that I was certain that the Ryder Cup means everything to him. The chance of not being Ryder Cup captain for more millions when you've already got millions, that surprised me, really did.
Well, as I say, it's going to be very, very interesting next week and the weeks beyond. We'll be keeping a close eye on proceedings and covering it on obviously 5 Live, but also on the BBC Sport website. But let's deal with what is undoubtedly sporting glory right now, the most prestigious title in women's golf, the Women's US Open. And what a week it's been for Bronte Law. And we're watching this British player now looking to save par at the 18th. Currently at 5 under par. She's putting from 6 feet, sends it on its way and just misses agonisingly on the left edge. And that's a dispiriting way to finish what has otherwise been the best week, certainly in major championships, of Bronte Law's career. Rounds of 69, 69, 68 and then 74 today. She finishes at 4 under par, and that is good enough for a share of 7th place with Anna Nordqvist. So a healthy check, a healthy dose of world ranking points for the British player, and such a shame that she ended up 3-putting the last there for a bogey, which will just give her just a sense of disappointment. But overall, by some distance, her best performance in the majors, her first major top 10, and something, again, playing the final round with Lydia Ko will be a massive boon for her, I would have thought, going forward.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt for a little while. Your first emotion is obviously one of frustration and annoyance, and a 74 in the last round of an Open is, always something hard to take. But when she looks back in maybe a couple of days' time, she'll realise she's had a really good week and given her a good platform to build for the rest of the year.
Well, it's all about Minjee Lee now, the 26-year-old from Australia, who Trish Johnson, right at the start of our broadcast, said, quite frankly, has been playing the best golf of anyone right now. And it is going to be very, very appropriate that in a few moments she will cap a commanding victory and join the likes of her compatriot and hero, really, Kyrie Webb, and Annika Sorenstam as a winner. Christy Kerr was also a winner at Pine Needles. This is the 4th time that this course has staged the Women's US Open. Going forward, it's going to go to Pebble Beach next year, Erin Hills, Riviera, the Inverness Club, Oakmont and Pinehurst. So this event going to some of the finest courses in the United States these days. And here is Cap Mina Harigai, who's had a wonderful week as well.
She has. She's in second place, 9 under par, 5 shots off the lead and 190 yards out of the 18th green, and 190 yards away from the biggest payday in her career. Sends that one up high into the North Carolina sky. Sit, shouts the caddy, and it does. A couple of tiny bounces and it comes to a stop. 12 feet or so from the flag. All smiles then, Mina Harigai. She's got big tortoiseshell glasses covering her eyes, but the joy, the relief of getting the job done in the final round of a major championship is plain to see written all over her face.
And very confidently, Minji Lee picks the club from her bag for her second shot in here. Another fairway split off the tee. She bends down, just picks up a little bit of grass and holds it up, and it falls pretty much dead straight because there's precious little breeze here. It's just a wedge in her hand, 107 yards, 14 under par. She's going to enjoy these moments now. She sends this one towards the green, and it lands on the putting surface, a little bit shy of the flag, but no problem at all. And the applause starts. The grandstand tucked to the back right of the green, hospitality areas as well. She has the putter under her arm, and this is the kind of walk that every golfer dreams of, with a commanding lead in the biggest tournament that you can play. And the applause starts. She waves to the left-hand side, a smile playing across her face as she peers out beneath those mirrored sunglasses we've been talking about. And the applause grows louder and the cheers grow louder. A wave with her right hand, a wave with her left hand. And she marches knowing that this is a job that has been extremely well done. Big smile on her face, another wave with her left hand, and everyone standing and applauding around the green as well as she sets foot onto the putting surface. And what a lovely, lovely walk that must have been. Trish Johnson.
Well, what can I say? Walking down the last hole with a 5-shot lead and you hit your second shot onto the green, that's the greatest feeling you can possibly have. She knows whatever she does here, she's going to be, in about 5 minutes' time, the US Open champion. She's been the form horse for the last 3 months on the LPGA Tour, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's one thing being that, and probably being, I'd say, pretty much the favourite for this tournament going in. But that's a different kettle of fish. Then producing the golf that she has this week, that'll be the most satisfying thing for her. What she's capable of, she knows, but she's done it when she's needed it most, and she's going to be absolutely a tremendous champion, 100% fully deserved.
Very engaging, always good to listen to her, and I know that her brother Minwoo Lee will be watching this very, very closely. Reigning Scottish Open champion on the European Tour, and he'll be a proud boy, no doubt.
She got a big kick, and I think a real feel of Augusta caddying for him in the par 3 event this year.
That's right. And here she is with that putting style that we've seen throughout this US Open. Left hand below right. The green all in shadow, just the odd little glint of sunlight reflecting off that putting surface, but none en route to the hole. Here it comes from Minji Lee as she sends this up towards the hole, and she's put it to just a couple of feet. She's going to break the record for the lowest US Open score as well. She marks her ball and she'll stand to one side. And Mina Harigai will bank the biggest check of her career with her first top 10 in a major as well, and it'll be a runner-up finish for the American, and she's had a fabulous week as well.
Yeah, her best results at a US Open Championship was a tie for 28th place back in 2012, so she's going to have bested that by some margin this afternoon in North Carolina. Just getting a read of the line from her caddy. She down on her haunches, he looking over her shoulder to get the same perspective on the track towards the hole as his player, and she just bends to pick up that marker, and now standing behind the ball, a few swishes of that putter head and a wipe of the face of the club as she settles her feet, widens her stance. 15 foot or so up the hill towards the hole. And this one is slowing down as it comes towards the cup. Has it got enough on it? It doesn't for the birdie for Mina Harigai, so she will tap in for her par on the 18th to finish on 9 under par. And you can hear the cheers for Mina Harigai. 64, 69, a 70 and a 72 to finish for the American. A breakout season for her last season, including that appearance in the US Solheim Cup team. But winless in more than 250 starts on the LPGA. She's now a runner-up at a major championship.
And the moment now belongs to Minjee Lee from Perth in Australia. This will be her 11th win as a professional, her second as a major. This for a par, this for a round of 70 on the final day at Pine Needles at the US Open. Sent forward, oh, misses to the left. Echoes of Scotty Scheffler at the Masters.
Don't say that.
Well, now this is for the record. This is for the record. So there's a little bit of jeopardy on this one. This for a level par 71 to set the total at 271. Here she goes. This time, no mistake. And Minjee Lee is a major champion once again, and she claims the biggest prize in women's golf. The arms go aloft. A muted hug with her caddy, but big smiles, and then she embraces Mina Harigai, and the applause echoes around the 18th green, and the champagne corks start, and I think that's Hannah Green just coming on, her Australian compatriot, and she's being doused in water and champagne in celebration of a huge win, a brilliant performance from Minjee Lee. Rounds of 67, 66, 67 and 71. It all adds up to 271. Never before has a player shot that low in a US Open in the women's game. So a record-breaking performance, and Minjee Lee is the champion.
And even with a 5-shot lead walking into that 18th green, Trish, the nerves were palpable, weren't they? That was a missed putt from Minjee Lee. We haven't seen her miss those all day long.
No, absolutely. Just literally, when you stand over it, the nerves that go through your body. She knows she's going to win, but just that adrenaline and it's almost just trying to keep yourself just breathe. And she knocked it a couple of feet past, and if that one had missed, then it suddenly gets a bit interesting. But yes, shades of Scotty Scheffler, but overall, what a tremendously deserved champion.
Yeah, she's just played out of her skin, hasn't she, over the past, 4 days, really. You're reading those scores over her rounds, 67 to start, 66, 67, and then a level par 71 to finish off, and to equal the record as well, a record score to win the US Open.
Yeah, I think she just started as she meant to go on. I mean, 2 tremendous shots to the first hole. The par 5s were her bread and butter today a couple of times. She just lashed the second shot onto 15 being an example as well. She's such a long player, and when the driver is that long and that straight all day long, and for the first sort of 12 or 13 holes, she holds some tremendous putts. She holds some clutch putts. Considering she only won by sort of 4 or 5 shots, she holds some really important putts in the middle of this round, around about 10, 11, 12. So, she was gutsy as well, which is great for her. She can dig deep when she needs to, but she's got the game. She really has got the game to dominate, and she's won 11 tournaments already. Wow, you sort of think of Hall of Famers and you think no one's ever going to do that again, but I tell you what, a few more wins in the next couple of years and you suddenly start thinking this could be another one.
2 majors already, age of 26, and it's just coupled with that relentless consistency. She doesn't give tournaments away, she doesn't miss cuts, she makes top 10 after top 10 after top 10, and now she's got that winning habit. That's her second win in the last 3 weeks. And, well, we say this after every major win, don't we? That this could be the launch pad. It might be the pinnacle, but you do get the feeling with the quality of the ball striking that she has, she's not reliant on having a good putting week to win. The bedrock of her game is the long game. And then when the putter is unsung, then she's not only going to win, but she's going to win big, and this was a 4-shot win. Yeah,
and I think that's the whole point, though, is her driving and her iron play is second to none, probably the best on tour. The putter has improved tremendously, and that, this isn't all of a sudden she's just driving it well and hitting her iron shots well. She's done that for donkey's years, but now her putting is a really strong part of her game as well, and I think that is what has, catapulted her to where she is at the moment, and right now she is without doubt the best player in the world.
The Horton S. Semple Trophy awaits, as does a cheque for $1.8 million for Minjee Lee. Not a bad week's work, is it?
Heading back to Perth business class, I should think.
Might be a little better than that.
Might be buying the plane at this rate.
Yeah, Horton S. Semple, if you're interested, was a former USGA president in 1974-75, and the original trophy was part of some kind of sponsorship deal, and in the end the USGA said, no, actually we'll get our own trophy, and that's the trophy that gets presented.
Well, there you go.
As well as the Mickey Wright Medal.
Well, Minjee Lee will be collecting that trophy, that medal and that cheque in just a few moments' time. But the 26-year-old from Perth in Western Australia has picked up her second major championship, the Evian winner last year in 2021, and now the Women's US Open champion in 2022. Minjee Lee takes home the title. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, Ian Carter and the BBC golf team and I, for the men's US Open from Brookline, just outside Boston, in a couple of weeks' time. Do hope you can join us for that. Thank you so much for staying up with us and sharing your Sunday night with us here to enjoy that dominant win by the Australian. But Minjee Lee is the 2022 US Open champion.